Look for that one pitch that Darvish gives you in an at-bat. He doesn't give in. He works the corners really well. When you get the one that you could potentially hit, you got to be able to square it up. And how about don't take the bait for the Rangers going up against Jesse Chavez, another guy that works the corners, but also off the plate a little bit more. He's going to try to get these Rangers hitters to chase out of the zone. It's been a little bit of an issue for a couple of Rangers in that lineup today. If they can avoid that, they'll have some success against Jesse Chavez.
We'll take a look now at the lineup as penciled in by manager Mike Scioscia in his 18th season for the Halos. Albert Pujols now just 6 home runs shy of number 600. Hit the go-ahead 3-run blast in the 8th inning last night. As right now, how about the arsenal from Darvish? He throws just about everything, doesn't he?
He certainly does. And you see the 4-seam fastball, which he will use the most, but only at 33%. The cutter's been strong. The slider is a great finish pitch. We talk about how much he strikes guys out. Really good movement on the 2-seam fastball. And that curveball, and what we'll see from him this year, he will throw every once in a while. Put that one in there, 68, 69 miles an hour. Pretty unbelievable to watch when you think about the mid to upper 90s fastball. Take a look now at the defense here for the Texas Rangers. Delino DeShields, that's a big deal for the Rangers that he is starting in left field against a right-handed pitcher. Jurickson Profar was the opening day left fielder, got most of those opportunities early on, but all of a sudden now, that's a lot of CJ.
That's what they want, CJ. That's what they want, you know. You say I don't need to segue him to the arsenal? Okay. And am I getting a live toss from KB still?
Sure, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. A nice matchup of two foes from inside the American League West. The suddenly surging Angels taking on the Rangers, trying to find their groove offensively. Albert Pujols, a home run last night, now just 6 shy of 600. Rangers and Nomar Mazara ready to go here today for Game 2 of the series. Welcome inside. Happy you're with us here from North Texas. Aaron Goldsmith alongside CJ Nikowski. And CJ, when you talk about the Angels, you have to talk about the best player on the planet. Mike Trout, already 7 home runs this year.
Yeah, if you're waiting for Mike Trout to have that off year, you're going to have to wait another year because it's not happening yet in 2017. This guy continues to be unbelievable. You see what he's done here against the Texas Rangers. He has been a foe for them, as he has for really the rest of the major leagues. And you see him right now, the most right there versus the American League opposition. Those numbers right there off the charts for Mike Trout, including a big home run that he hit last night. He'll go up against Yu Darvish. Darvish coming off one of his strongest starts of 2017. We see him here April 13th up against the Angels, elevating the fastball, using the really good slider, the live arm. This will be a lot of fun to watch. If you think about Yu Darvish and Mike Trout, 4 home runs for Trout against Darvish, but there has been no hitter that Darvish has struck out more than Mike Trout. So it'll be the battle here of a couple of Titans.
Well, Angels winning last night in Game 1 of this 3-game weekend series, and with that in mind, CJ, what are your Lincoln Motor Company keys for this one tonight?
Well, here's what's going to be important for the Angels. 4 runs. And what does that mean when you're facing Yu Darvish? There are not very many opportunities. You're not going to get a lot of pitches in and at bat to hit. Mike Sosa told us before the game, when they see that one, they got to be able to barrel up. So they're probably not getting a second one. And for the Texas Rangers today, don't take the bait. They're going up against Jesse Chavez. Chavez will live on the corners and off the plate, trying to get hitters to chase. That's been a little bit of an issue for these Rangers hitters lately. So he'll try to take advantage of that. They'll try to avoid it.
Just Mike Socia will take a look at his lineup here tonight. Albert Pujols, the go-ahead 3-run blast in last night's 8th inning, 6 home runs shy of 600. CJ Cron on the disabled list, so a new look at first base. Jeffrey Marte will get the start at first here tonight for the Angels. And how about that arsenal? It is a wide one.
It runs a little bit deep for Yu Darvish. You see the fastball usage there. What's funny about that curveball, not a lot of usage, but it's a fun pitch to watch. There'll be times where you'll see that at about 68, 69 miles an hour, but one of the deepest repertoires in all of baseball from Yu Darvish.
Well, this game already off to a better start for the Rangers. Last night on the very first pitch, Escobar 438 feet later gave the Angels a 1-0 lead. For Escobar, that was his 2nd home run of the season. Napoli giving this a long look, and it's strike 1.
Take a look at what the Texas Rangers are throwing out there defensively today. And one thing that's really going to stick out is Delino DeShields now getting a 3rd straight start. Now, we had a couple against lefties, but this will be the first that he actually against a right-hander. Jurickson Profar was the steady left fielder for the Texas Rangers, but now Jeff Bannister has decided to give some other guys an opportunity, and DeShields has been really good getting on base so far in his last couple of games, and they decided to go ahead and keep him in there in left and at the top of the order.
Now 2 balls and a strike to Escobar. This has been an interesting start to the season for the Angels. At one point losing 9 of 10. They've now won 5 in a row. Their longest winning streak on the young season for Mike Socia. They've won 6 of their last 7. They've now moved into 2nd place in the West, just behind the Astros.
They've been a little bit of a streaky team, and they've had some issues where the starting pitching has been really good as of late after getting off to a really slow start. The first 12, the ERA was up over 6, but the offense was kind of helping out. Now the offense has slowed down a little bit, and all of a sudden the pitching has come around. So Mike Socia would love to see those 2 things kind of come together at one time.
A leadoff walk to Escobar. It's not the start that Yu Darvish was looking for, and that brings up Cole Calhoun. Really interesting when you look at Cole Calhoun last year compared to the year before that. On base percentage going up last year. The average went up last year as well. The home runs went down. And then you look at this batting order for the Angels. You think about the guys behind him, Trout and Pujols, major run producers. That seems to be more the guy that Mike Socia and the Angels would like to see going forward.
Yeah, he talked about 2015 as you see him go hacking here, the first one.
This is flirting with the pull. That is plenty deep. That is in Gallo territory, but a very loud strike 1.
Well, right on cue as we're going to talk about Cole Calhoun maybe not being a power hitter anymore, almost launches. But going back to 2015, we asked Mike Scioscia about this before the game. 26 home runs for Cole Calhoun. He said, you know what, it was nice, it's great to see the power, but we don't necessarily believe that's the best version of Cole Calhoun. Last year, the higher on base percentage, but the power numbers came down a little bit, and you're absolutely right. When you have the middle of your lineup solidified with really what's turning out to be two of the greatest our game has ever seen in Trout and Pujols, you would much rather him be a table setter, and that's the preferred role here, the preferred results they get from Cole Calhoun.
Darvish ahead quickly 0-2. Now Darvish has been nearly untouchable this season when he gets 2 strikes against an opposing hitter, batting just some pocket change. 113 against Darvish.
See that slow breaking ball from Yu Darvish, and gotta be a little bit careful as he see Cole Calhoun just kind of hit that little weak ground ball. The way that the Rangers are playing him defensively, Joey Gallo is almost in the shortstop position. So if you throw that slow breaking ball, Cole Calhoun, if you could just tap it out there, it'd be an easy base hit.
There you see Gallo playing shortstop. Darvish keeping an eye on Escobar, the leadoff walk. And the count pushes to a ball and 2 strikes. Now for Darvish, coming off 8 strong innings in a win versus Kansas City, at one point Darvish sat down 15 of 16. And for Darvish, a big step forward, his highest pitch count since Tommy John, the operation that erased his 2015 surgery. The start before that against the A's was cruising along, then the wheels kind of fell off, so his pitch count was much lower than you would have expected it to be when he took the mound to begin that game. So Darvish coming off his deepest start since Tommy John.
And you know, we always talk about what a great strikeout pitcher Yu Darvish is, but if he wants to have more of that, where he can get deeper in the game, and he does, right? Guys that come over, it doesn't matter who you are, but aces that come over from Japan are so used to 8-9 innings every time out, high pitch counts. But in the big leagues and here for Yu Darvish and with Jeff Bannister, he has said, yeah, we'd love to get you that deep. Some more efficiency would kind of be key, which means maybe using that fastball a little bit more, not going for strikeouts and 2-2 counts, and that's a way he can get deeper in games more consistently.
A lift out towards right center. Gomez has it in his sights for round number 1. 1 out, 1 on for Mike Trout.
And we'll take a look at what Mike Trout has done and talked about the Yu Darvish head-to-head matchup. And this is a lot of fun. I'm not going to say it's been all or nothing, but the fact that there have been those 4 home runs, most against any one hitter, but also those 13 strikeouts. I mean, talk about a great power hitter, great all-around hitter. And then you have, of course, one of the greatest strikeout pitchers that our game has seen over the last few years. These are fun to watch when these two guys go head to head in the game plan. And you know you can't go to one spot with Mike Trout. Yu Darvish knows that. And he's obviously had some success and some failure. Lots to learn in that process.
Escobar still at first after the leadoff walk as Trout takes high. Mike Trout is known so much for being just one of the absolute best low ball hitters. There's certainly a book on Trout by this point, but can you still find a hole in that swing if you go up top?
Up and away is going to be your best bet with a good fastball. We see that from him, but it's so atypical of what you learn to do as a pitcher that sometimes you're almost fighting yourself to pitch either to the scouting report or to your strengths. I mean, even Jonathan Lucroy right there is set up low. He wanted that fastball down, right, even a little bit lower, and it kind of sat more middle as far as height went, and Darvish is able to get it past Mike Trout.
And Trout gets ahead 2-1. You really cannot find a team that Mike Trout has not tortured. But he has especially tortured the Texas Rangers, batting .336 for his career against the Rangers. That is the highest average of any American League team.
And that's a good pitch right there as you see Yu Darvish kind of go down and in. It's really good action on that one and get Mike Trout to swing over the top. Now you can go in that spot. I don't think you can do it too many times. He's so great at balls that are down over the plate and down and away, down and in. There's a small error. There's a small margin there where you can get to him.
Darvish the 2-2. Count on and miss. Hard time catching up with 97.
Such great life on that Darvish fastball. And watch Jonathan Lucroy. They actually wanted this four-seam fastball away, but he'll come back and he'll take the strikeout every single time as it goes in a really nice spot up and in. That's so tough to get to. I don't care who you are. And 97 is blown right past Mike Trout.
2 outs and Escobar at first for Albert Pujols. Albert in the midst of an 8-game hitting streak. Taking all the way for ball 1. Now Pujols really turning things around. A slow start. 1 for his first 20. 13 hits over that 8-game hitting streak, batting over .370. Escobar taken off, and he takes second base easily. So Pujols, who has been the best run producer in the American League, now has a runner in scoring position.
How about this in April for Albert Pujols? You know, we talk about some guys getting off to a slow start and maybe the pitchers being ahead of the hitters. Not for Albert Pujols in April. That is the most RBIs of any player in the first month of the season.
Now wild pitch puts him ahead 2-0. Now make it 2-1.
And that's Darvish respecting the fastball hitting ability of Albert Pujols as he flips a little cutter in there at 89 miles an hour on a 2-0 count.
Upstairs. Watch out.
I've seen Darvish overthrow a couple of pitches here and certainly overthrows those breaking balls. It ends up finishing up and in. That's a pitch he's trying to throw down and away to Pujols.
And Pujols is an RBI shy of tying Ted Williams on the all-time list. He has Escobar at second. Cracks this foul.
Wow. Great play down there by the ball girl. You don't know which way that ball is going to bounce off the tarp. I love the dude in a helmet just completely trusting that she's going to be able to catch that ball. Did he even flinch? I mean, watch this thing bounce off the tarp. Short hop.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Just another Saturday. That was nothing.
Oh, this is what I would have done if you didn't catch it. Yeah, sure you would have.
3-2 from Darvish. Gomez gauges it up. And batter still hitless with a runner in scoring position. Young this season against Darvish. First, Delano DeShields getting ready to lead things off. We'll take a look at the rest of Jeff Bannister's lineup. Nomar Mazara, the RBI leader with 17. No RBIs his last 33 plate appearance. He bats second once again. Bannister shaking up the lineup last night, trying to get some guys going, Odor and Napoli in particular. Jesse Chavez up on the mound, and his first pitch poured in for a strike.
Delano DeShields was a guy who had a great year in 2015, tailed off last year, came into spring training with the Rangers in incredible shape, was running extremely well, and then it became all of a sudden, what are the Rangers going to do in left field? Because they had Jurickson Profar, Ryan Rua, Delano DeShields. They were going to try to somehow find a way to make it a three-man platoon, which is a pretty difficult task, and now he's getting his chance to be there.
Escobar knocks it down, and Jefferson, or pardon me, Marte on the other end, able to hold on to it. So DeShields on 2 pitches retired.
Delano squared this one up pretty good. Give Escobar credit for keeping this ball at least near him and having a chance, and he knew he had to hurry as Delano DeShields still tried to make this a pretty close play. But again, quality at bat right there, right? Squaring the ball up. Jeff Bannister certainly got to be happy with what he saw.
So DeShields showed up in the best shape of his life. Is that what you're saying? we haven't heard that before.
I'm not going to drop that on him, but he did look pretty good.
He looked good.
He was ready to go. He made a really great impression in spring training. I think it was 13 for 13 on his stolen bases, and now he's getting his chance. Didn't happen early on, but now he's getting it, and we'll see whether or not he can run with it.
Quick start for Jesse Chavez, who deals strike one to Mazara.
We'll take a look at what Jesse Chavez will be bringing to the table today. Another guy with a deep repertoire, 6 different pitches that he's using, but 53% of the time you will see either a 4 or 2-seam fastball.
Now 4 pitches in for Jesse Chavez, and he gets his second out. Ben Revere gets a start in left. How about the rest of the defense?
Yeah, we'll take a look at what's going on here, and again, looking at left field's been not an issue. Cameron Maybin is there right now, off to a little bit of a slow start, but Ben Revere will get that start. Got a new face in Danny Espinosa. But probably the biggest news is that Jeffrey Marte out there at first base. CJ Cron fouled the ball off the top of his foot today. Unfortunately had to go on the DL, and so now Marte will get an opportunity.
Now, a team that was besieged by injuries all of last year is particularly in the rotation. A couple of big injuries coming last night in game 1. Tyler Skaggs going on the disabled list, and Oblique felt a pinch. So he is on the shelf along with CJ Cron. 2 outs for Carlos Gomez. Now, Gomez made a fantastic impression on the Rangers last year when he came over from Houston. Off to a slow start this year. You could say that about a number of at-bats, or a number of batters rather, for the Rangers, but Gomez hitting just barely above 200. And left field, and a base hit. Revere having to track it down to the corner. Gomez legging it out for 2. And no surprise, losing some piece of gear. That seems to be a Gomez trademark.
Well, he kept the helmet on. I think it might have been, I'm going to guess, the elbow guard, as he's laughing as he gets it back for Marte. But this is a pretty good breaking ball that's down from Jesse Chavez. We know that Carlos Gomez is aggressive. He is a very good low ball hitter. Does a nice job hitting this ball in the corner. He'll coast into second pretty easily. And let's see what we lost here. Or is that an ankle?
We lost a shoe.
Full shoe. How about it? Shoeless Carlos.
Is there a precedent for this? I mean, this is an NBA move.
That is fantastic. Well, sometimes you got to get mom and dad out there to tie your shoes nice and tight before the game, or they're going to fall off when you're running that fast around the bases.
Double knot, Carlos. Double knot. 2 outs. Gomez in scoring position for Odor. The first pitch. Mike Trout will handle this easily. And a pretty quick and tidy bottom of the first for Chavez. 3 outs on 9 pitches. First baseman Jeffrey Marte leads things off for the Angels at the top of the second. We were referring to the roster moves earlier today, and you can take a look here. C.J. Cron on the disabled list, a left foot contusion, fouled a ball off the top of his foot last night. And then equally as meaningful, if not more, Tyler Skaggs, a right oblique strain, which those are never pleasant. Never easy to come back from, it seems. Here is Marte.
That could be a big loss. Skaggs has been very good in his last 3 starts. This rotation has really had a very nice run for the Angels. And if they want to try to hang in there, which should be a pretty tough division, they're going to need their starting pitchers. They're already doing it without Garrett Richards, who was, of course, expected to be the ace of the club this year.
I'm going to go back to last night and C.J. Cron's at bat.
This is just a pitch that he fouled right off the top of his foot and reacted to it. And you see this, and there's nothing you can do. There's no guard that you're going to wear that's going to protect that, even though he doesn't wear the ankle guard. But he came back, he got a base hit on the next pitch, but you could tell right away that he was done, and he was removed for a pinch hitter at that point.
He was on crutches after the game, placed on the DL today. So Mike Scioscia, who last year had to go through injury after injury, not only to his rotation but to the core overall. A couple of big injuries in one game last night. Three balls and a strike to Marte beginning the top of the second. Only 14 at bats so far this year. On the road, that is. This gets a piece right back of the glove.
It's a good Yu Darvish fastball as he elevates. Marte looking back, wondering, was that a strike? I'd say probably not, as you see how high Jonathan Lucroy reaches up to get that ball. But you're in that fastball count. If you're not playing regularly, your eyes get really big. And in the case of Marte, he chases one out of the zone.
Strike 3 call. Second punch out for Darvish.
Well, things aren't going well for you. This is usually how it goes. Chase one out of the zone, and then don't swing at the one that is in the zone. Another four-seam fastball. It's had a little bit of life on it as it comes back and even catches the outside part of the plate. Look at Jonathan Lucroy. So quiet. Just a little bit of a move on there in the corners. Give home plate umpire Adam Hamari a little bit of a longer look. Might have been a little bit off, but Jonathan Lucroy certainly did a nice job of framing that one up.
Strike one to Simmons. Well, Simmons entering batting just a few notches beneath 290. Outside of Mike Trout, he is the best batter in terms of just pure average on this Angels team so far. Simmons missing the time last year with the hand injury, but you can make the case, CJ, that forget just the shortstop position, regardless of position, Simmons could very well be the best defensive player in the American League. Kevin Kiermaier's name you could throw around with that as well. But this is one of the best players you can put on any position on the defensive side.
I think it's fair. He's such a difference maker in the field. You think about how many runs can he save. We use defensive run save metric. I don't love it, but we try to find a way to quantify what he does. But he's got tremendous range. He's got an unbelievable arm as well, and he knows when to use it, when to dial it up. But he's also aggressive, right, with back picks. Keeping an eye on guys, knowing which runners are going to put their head down. Very similar to the way Molina did the other night we saw with him. Andrelton Simmons, without a doubt, the best defensive shortstop the game has to offer.
Almost got him to chase.
What the movement on that slider. Even Jonathan Lucroy almost like, man, I wasn't expecting it to break that far.
I mean, there are some guys who are particularly difficult to catch, and Darvish has to be at the top of that list.
No doubt. I mean, listen, I don't want to catch anybody, but I certainly wouldn't want to catch you, Darvish. Nothing is straight, and a lot of it is hard.
This is clobbered, but very foul. Still 2-2. Now, Scott's MLB Pitch Hit and Run is the official youth skills competition of Major League Baseball. It's free for boys and girls ages 7 to 14. Play your way to the national finals and have the chance to compete during All-Star Week in Miami. Find a local competition in your area at pitchhitrun.com. Nasty breaking ball.
How about the reaction from you, Darvish? You double hands on the head. He wanted that one. It looked like it probably finished just off the corner. We'll see. Jonathan Lucroy was set up middle. You know what? After further review, that may have been a strike. But I love the Darvish reaction. He wanted it so bad.
Darvish has the curve, then he has the even slower curve. Just gets a piece.
You know, he sets up in this at bat in particular. He opens up the outside part of the plate because it was two seam fastballs to start off the at bat. One for a strike and then one that was just off the plate. So he wants to make Andrelton Simmons aware and thinking that he can do exactly this. Finish him with something away. He tried the curveball. He tried the cutter. He's got all kinds of options on which way he wants to go.
8th pitch on the way to Simmons. Hits him this time. Back-to-back strikeouts, both with the bat on the shoulder.
And both on four-seam fastballs away. And Yu Darvish feeling that pitch. He shook twice on Jonathan LUCROY. Actually, that had a little bit of a different spin on it, but he paints the outside corner.
Is that the Shuto fastball?
I don't know what that was. I got to take a little bit of a closer look. I mean, I assumed that was a four-seam fastball. That had a little bit of a different look to it, but based on the velocity, let's say yes.
And you can see here, best all-time, minimum 100 starts, strikeouts per 9, and already 3 strikeouts here in this ball game for Darvish. 3 of the first 5 outs.
Let's watch Yu Darvish again as he paints the outside corner. I guess that's a 4. Yeah, just looked like it came off a little bit funky, almost like, I mean, the velocity was too high to call it a cutter, but he looked like he maybe got around that just a little bit. Didn't have the same run coming back that we saw with the strikeout against Jeffrey Marte.
Now Ben Revere getting the start here tonight for manager Mike Scioscia in left field. Normally we would see Cameron Maybin out there. Maybin off to a slow start. A lift out to left. The Shields in the corner has room, and the side is retired in order. Now Darvish 3 strikeouts, including 2 here in the second, both pumping 95-mile-an-hour heat. First pitch on the way, a strike to Mike Napoli. Napoli off to a cold start, batting just a little bit above 150. And yet another return to the Rangers. And play right to Simmons. Not where you want to hit it. One quick out for Jesse Chavez, now having to face Joey Gallo. Gallo benefiting from the calf injury from Adrian Beltre, still on the disabled list. And when he hits them, CJ, they are not cheap.
No, and he is really taking advantage of that playing time. The consistent at bats, we hear about that one all the time. And Joey Gallo has hit some long home runs, some hard home runs this year. He's also seeing the ball a lot better. Pitch selection has been very good. Hasn't gone out of the zone as much. He's still going to strike out. That's always going to be part of his game. But he has really done a nice job so far this year. And you remember in the offseason, the Rangers, he talked about Joey Gallo maybe needing a little bit more time in the minor leagues. That was kind of the plan. Well, things change, and he's done a really nice job. You go ahead and ignore that batting average. Everything else has been really good for Joey Gallo.
That skips a ways up there, 0-2.
You know, pitch recognition is so important, right? Eyesight for hitters is so important. And what Joey Gallo realized in working with Anthony Iapoce, they open him up just a little bit. As you see his stance just a little bit more open, and because he's basically, sounds crazy, that he's got both eyes on the pitcher, he sees the ball a lot better. You know, a lot of guys, you can think about if you're standing squared up and you're closed, sometimes it's only one eye where you can see the pitcher, and so you'll see batters fighting and trying to turn to make sure that they're looking at the pitcher with both eyes. Well, Joey Gallo's realized that opening up has helped him a ton as far as how well he can see that ball coming out of the pitcher's hand.
Now 2-2. I think a lot of people first learned of Gallo a few years ago at the Futures game when it was played at Target Field. His mammoth batting practice home runs. Full count.
And that's a pitch that a year ago people would expect Joey Gallo to swing at, right? It's those ones that are on the corner, even against lefties. Got a couple of home runs against lefties, a handful of walks against lefties as well this year. That was nothing that you would ever anticipate based on where he was last year.
The 3-2 from Chavez. Very windy, blowing left to right, all the way back, and Trout is able to make the catch. You could see the dirt from the warning track blowing around. It looked like the Wild West. There was a tumbleweed that was about to clip Trout.
Mike Trout is kind of shaking his head a little bit. We know what a good defender Mike Trout is in the outfield. Joey Gallo got under this one just a little bit. Some legitimate hang time. But watch Mike Trout come in and go back a little bit more. His garbage flying. It's like the '69 World Series and old Shea. That's a great play for Mike Trout, and Mr. Chavez says, thank you. I thought that was routine, but I appreciate you hauling that one in, and it's a windy day here in Arlington.
2 outs for Chavez, now facing Elvis Andrus. Strike one.
I'll get you the launch angle on that. I got about 87 degrees. Straight in the air. And you think about it, right? He gets on top of that just a little bit more, how hard he hit that ball. That's the power that Joey Gallo has.
Andrews, some good numbers against the Angels already this year. And there's no question that the Rangers are trying to get their offense clicking on all cylinders. You mentioned the bright spot of DeShields playing well recently, getting the start tonight, leading off. But the heart of this order was some strides to make as we approach the end of April. Up the middle for a base hit. Two-out single for Andrews.
Elvis Andrus has been really so steady and solid for the Rangers this year. As you see him taking a ball up the middle, just really good consistent swings, not trying to do too much, building off a year in 2016 where he had the strong on base percentage. Had a really nice year. We talk about sometimes the good forgotten shortstops because there's so many good ones right now. I think Elvis Andrus has been one of those guys that maybe has been forgotten a little bit nationally.
Well, you're right about a huge year last year for Andrus. He's at first with 2 outs. Chu goes after the first pitch. Oh my! Danny Espinosa trying to stay with it. And how is Espinosa?
That took a wicked hop and looked like it caught him right in the face. Looked like it hit the lip. It did. It caught him, yeah, unfortunately not on the hat. Hit him right. Tough break there for Danny Espinosa, and incredible that he Had the wherewithal to stay with it, go after that ball.
How did he keep his feet?
I mean, he definitely looks a little bit shaken up, and the Angels, of course, will be extremely cautious. You worry about a concussion. Look like I guess like maybe right above the nose, in between the eyes. But you also know this. I mean, when you see a guy go after the ball like that after he takes one off the face, he wants nothing to do with coming out of this game.
Now Cliff Pennington would be the next man up for the Angels. But Espinosa staying in there, his first year with Anaheim.
Let's take a look at this. Elvis did a good job of staying out of the way as that ball almost hit him. Right here, that takes a much higher hop than Danny Espinosa expected. Well, it did catch some hat, so that's some good news. Actually, a good bulk of the hat would slow it down. You know, had he taken that straight on, that's why I think we were pretty amazed that he was still standing up, quite honestly. The hat saved the day. They still got him.
Espinosa probably not appreciating the PA announcement to make more noise after getting hit almost flush in the face. He's a tough customer, though. Runners on the corners, 2 outs for the catcher batting ninth, Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy batting just barely over 200. So many good years with Milwaukee. Acquired last summer by John Daniels and the Rangers. A slice out to right. Cole Calhoun makes that catch easily. With that, Chavez strands runners on the corners. We go to the third. This one is sponsored by the LG G6, the big screen that fits in your hand, and by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. Well, here we go inside Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. Aaron Goldsmith alongside C.J. Nikowski. Rangers and Angels scoreless through 2. And the man who just took the worst hop of the year for any infielder, Danny Espinosa, leads things off.
It's amazing that he is in there. It looked a little bit shaken up, but like we said, tough guy, tough to get him out of the game.
Espinosa, his first year with the Angels, longtime Washington National. A little bit of a coming back home party for Espinosa. Grew up an Angels fan. His father was a season ticket holder for the Angels.
I mean, how cool is that? right? I mean, you think about every kid watching baseball. Your parents happen to have you either go to games once in a while, become a season ticket holder, and then one day you get to put on that uniform. That's pretty special.
Ball to strike to Espinosa as Darvish has gathered 3 strikeouts through the first 2 innings.
The thing about Espinosa, we talked about in the open, right? Looking for that one. He is very good. He's still got some really good power. You leave a ball over the plate, he can get to it and get to a good fastball. But he's also very aggressive, and you can get him to chase. And so Darvish knows that. It'll be interesting to see what he tries to do here on a 2-1 count. You just can't give in with a fastball.
You know, for the stuff that Darvish has, is it surprising the number of 3-ball counts he's had already?
A little bit. I mean, every once in a while there will start to be some issues with, maybe messing around a little bit too much, working the corners a little bit too much. Darvish, again, he's not going to give in. It's not what he does, even though he does have the power stuff. So if you're not on every once in a while, that's going to lend itself to falling behind in the count and getting to 3-ball counts. Efficiency would be nice, but that's just not the kind of pitcher he is. But he doesn't mind either, because he's come from Japan where 130, 140 was not a big deal if you threw that many pitches in a game.
He's running full now to 3 of the last 4 hitters. In fact, 4 of the last 5. Espinosa leading off the 3rd, and the 3-2. Buckles him. 4th strikeout for Darvish.
Well, Darvish decides to go slider here, and watch this pitch. Wanted it down and away, a little bit more of a cutter. One stayed a little bit more horizontal. We see Danny Espinosa at front hip, as you mentioned, start to buckle a little bit. But this is what Darvish does. Doesn't give in. He will not. He's not just going to go fastball down in the middle in a situation where you feel like, hey, just throw a strike here. You don't want to fall behind, or you don't want to walk a guy. No, he's still going to go with his best stuff.
Maldonado takes ball 1, his first at bat. Now Darvish has now struck out 3 of the last 4, all looking. And you can see his pitch count already pushing 50. And falls behind here 2-0.
And the thing about it too is with Darvish, when he gets ahead, he's so difficult to hit. Right? We look at what he's done so far this year with 2 strikes, just a 113 batting average against. He knows how to finish hitters. Now there may be a lot of pitches over the course of that bat, but when he gets to those 2 strikes, he's still very difficult to hit.
Now Darvish returned at the end of May last year, and then soon went back on the disabled list. A neck shoulder problem. Ended up making 17 starts last season after coming back from Tommy John. Never pitched more than 7 innings in a start last season, but as we mentioned earlier, went 8 his last time out. Evens it up 2-2.
You saw what he did here against the Angels last time. That was back all the way on April 13th. Lots of fastballs, lots of sliders and cutters. So everything was pretty hard from Darvish. Didn't see a changeup or that occasional split or even that really slow curveball. It was a steady diet of hard fastballs and breaking balls.
Another strikeout and another one coming looking. 4 of the last 5 hitters all caught admiring an offering from Darvish.
I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption that Martin Maldonado was sitting on 1 pitch, an off-speed pitch, and 1 that he never got, because he just looked at 3 fastballs for strikes. And when you try to think along with a guy who's got a deep repertoire, have a tendency, or at least a chance, to box yourself in a corner, and it certainly did appear that that's what happened with Maldonado. Those are all strikes.
Back to the top of the order. Here is Escobar. Escobar has been the only Angels hitter to reach so far. Another 2-0 count.
This is what makes him so tough. I mean, it's really, it's unbelievable to think that you can see something as slow as 73, and he has slower, but as high as 97. It is all about throttle, changing speeds, keeping guys guessing like we just saw. Maldonado, you see some frustration there from you, Darvish, as he starts this inning off with a couple of strikeouts and now finds himself in a 3-0 count, but that differential is pretty unbelievable.
Gets a strike this time. And Darvish has battled back to a full count.
It's almost like he's more comfortable with his back against the wall where he has to really make that big pitch. Why don't I want to get a guy out 1 or 2 pitches? Why not just go ahead and take him to the 3-2 count and try to finish him off that way?
Darvish on 3-2. Now the Rangers rotation this year leading the American League in quality starts. Darvish a big reason why.
He's been very good. Cole Hamels has been very good. Nick Martinez has suddenly slid into the rotation and put together a couple of really nice starts with A.J. Griffin on the DL, who has been very good for the Rangers this year.
The former Fordham infielder. 3-2. Just got a piece right back to the glove. LUCROY holds on. 9 in a row sat down by you, Darvish. 6 strikeouts through 3 innings.
Bottom of the 3rd inning here in Arlington. No score between the Angels and the Rangers, and fans, weeknights on FS1. After all the action on the diamond, the best team of analysts in baseball gets you caught up on a full night of action around the big leagues on MLB Whip Around weeknights at 11 Eastern on FS1 or on Fox Sports Go.
Now, CJ, I'm impressed that you still consider it the best panel of analysts since you're not on it.
It's kind of second best. I mean, let's be honest. You know, I read it because it was in writing. You know,
you're true to the copy.
Love my boys, miss my boys. Kevin Burkhardt, Eric Caro, Mark Sweeney, Frank Thomas, Dontrell Willis flying solo as the only pitcher on MLB Whip Around.
He could use some support.
Weight to carry. He could use some support. Need to get another arm in there.
2 balls and a strike. to Delano DeShields. Welcome inside, Aaron Goldsmith, CJ Nikowski. And CJ, for the Rangers, this is a team that's won the division the last couple of seasons. You can't have higher expectations when you do that in back-to-back years, but this has been a little bit of a slow start, kind of reminiscent of Jeff Bannister's first season in 2015.
Yeah, and not even nearly as bad as 2015. I think that's kind of the good news, right? This is a club that is led by Jeff Bannister that has been there and done that in the past. There's been some struggles in the bullpen early on that led to some losses, and it seems like they're starting to get that straightened out right now. The offense has been hit or miss at times. That's been one of the issues, maybe the biggest one. No Adrian Beltre yet all season. Of course, that future Hall of Famer playing third base is a huge part of this team, what he does defensively, offensively, in the clubhouse, all of those things. But you look at 2015 compared to 17 and you're saying, hey, you know what, this April isn't all that bad.
Now, they went on to, of course, win the division, and you think about what they did after that first month of the season and played a Simmons hip high. One down as we send you back to Los Angeles with KB at a game break. KB, what's going on?
Right fielder, Nomar Mazara.
Boy, Kevin, devastating news. Nationals giving up so much to bring Eaton to our nation's capital. How much does that hurt them, CJ?
It hurts. There's no two ways about it. Now, if you're looking for an upside here for the Washington Nationals, they have depth. And now Trey Turner can hit leadoff for them. And he's been really good this year. He's got great speed. I'm not saying that they're not going to miss him. They will absolutely miss him. But good things are happening offensively for the Washington Nationals. Bryce Harper off to a monster start, hitting up over 400. Ryan Zimmerman, hey, where you been? 11 homers so far this year. So that's some good news. Of course, Daniel Murphy doing what he usually does. So Michael Taylor will go into center field. That's probably how they handle that. And he's certainly not going to be Adam Eaton. But in the meantime, it's a deep enough team, or maybe they'll find a way to be able to get over this. But still a big loss.
2 balls and a strike to Mazara. You know, going back for a moment to that 2015-2017 April comparison, it's important to note, we mentioned that they won the West, the Rangers that is, that year, Bannister's first, but after the month of April, from that point forward, they were 21 games over 500 the rest of the campaign. And Bannister, who came over from Pittsburgh, Clint Hurdle's bench coach there in the National League, he was under attack by the media at the end of April because it was truly the worst April, offensively speaking, for the Rangers in their franchise history, and they really turned things around. Now, the cast of characters is different then from now. You mentioned Beltre on the disabled list. A lot of guys have left the Rangers from then till now, is all the turnover in the league. But nonetheless, Bannister, you'd have to think, can rely or lean on the fact that they've been through this before, and it's not even as bad as you pointed out as it was 2 years ago.
That part is hugely helpful. I think anytime you face adversity, you get down early. If you've been there and done that once before, it's certainly a little bit easier to kind of see the light of their potential light at the end of the tunnel as Nomar Mazara takes a really close pitch. Jesse Chavez not thrilled about that call, and neither is Mike Sosa. But you know, the other thing about that, it's always interesting to me, and I'm more a defender of, you know, players, a player apologist, a manager. I mean, is it Jeff Bannister's fault that they didn't hit well in April? Can you really point to a manager and say, hey, your team's not hitting, what are you doing wrong? Well, and even a hitting coach for that matter. I don't believe in, you know, putting that much pressure, that much blame on anybody on the coaching staff. Players have to perform, and you're going to go through slumps. It just always looks worse, as you see Shin-Soo Choo and Anthony Iapoce, the hitting coach on the right. You're going to go through times. It's going to happen. It's just when it's at the beginning of the year, it always looks significantly worse.
Napoli trying to get things going offensively. 1 out, 1 on. Mazara draws the first walk issued tonight by Jesse Chavez. Here is Carlos Gomez, who hit a shoeless double his last time up.
I'm sure New Balance is pretty thrilled about that, right? A little extra airtime. I'm a 12.5 if they're listening, just in case.
Now, Jesse Chavez, a real interesting story. Going to the Angels camp this spring, competing for a rotation spot here in the 5th starter spot after a strong spring training in Tempe. This is now his 4th organization in 3 years as he returns to the American League West. Had a nice run, parts of 4 seasons with the A's. Jammed him. A little blooper. Espinosa can't get there. Mazara on to second. Simmons tracks it down.
Nomar Mazara is going to hear about that because I don't think he realized how close this play was. If Andrelton Simmons catches his ball, I think Nomar Mazara is out. Danny Espinosa had no chance at this ball. It was a jam shot, so Nomar had to wait a little while. Let's take a look at this play here from this viewpoint. Nomar does what he has to do just in case, but he does not run full speed. He starts pulling up a little bit, and that would have been very, very close. And pretty surprisingly, Andrelton Simmons actually dropped this ball. We talk about the great hands that he has, but Nomar was not going full speed, started pulling up. Let's see, he would have absolutely been out.
Wow.
And so he caught a break because that's an earful from Mike Napoli, maybe Jeff Bannister afterwards. And so Nomar, I think, made the assumption that he was easily going to get there. That was not the case.
Espinosa known very much for his arm strength. 1 out, 2 on for Rougned Odor. Espinosa charging. The tag, a short bullet onto first for the inning-ending double play. And Chavez gets out of a bit of a jam. We go to the 4th, scoreless. We'll hope you're with us next Saturday on FS1. The Indians take on the Royals, who are really hurting right now. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Fox, the Yankees taking on the defending World Series champion Chicago Cubs at 7 p.m. Eastern. What a start for the Yankees.
Big surprise in New York. Yankee fans certainly very excited at what they're seeing from some of the young players. Aaron Judge, I wasn't sure if he was necessarily even a guy that was ready to crack the roster this year, and he has been on fire so far in 2017.
Swinging strike number 1 to Cole Calhoun. Well, this is the first time that Darvish has gone strike 1 to a batter since Andrelton Simmons in the second. 5 batters ago.
He's kind of putting a hole in that theory of, you know, how strike 1 being the most important pitch after he strikes out, what is it, 6 of the last 8 batters that he had faced. You know, strike 1 is important, but you'll hear pitching coaches talk about this one a lot. They actually want the emphasis on this pitch right here, 1-1. The difference between being 1-2 and 2-1 is pretty significant. But the other thing is with you, Darvish, when you have the great stuff and the great swing and miss stuff, you can pitch behind the count. You don't want to, but you can, and you can be successful because of all the great life.
The 1-1 philosophy is one that Max Scherzer really subscribes to.
Yeah. Yep. That was a big Dan Warthen one. I remember that. I had him years ago. Of course, now the current Mets pitching coach. I had him in Detroit. I guess it was 2000, 2001. one of the first pitching coaches to kind of put that in my head, and it makes sense. I mean, obviously, you'd love to be ahead 0-1 of every hitter, but it's much more important if you can to be 1-2.
He goes around 2-2. Now, Darvish has not lost so far here tonight with 2 strikes. The 2-2. Well, we were talking about this earlier. Last time that Darvish faced the Angels, we talked about his slider and his cutter. A lot of pitchers, CJ, don't even have both of those pitches. He has both in his repertoire, and he threw both a ton. What do you make of the fact that he was throwing similar pitches that often?
I think it's a pitch that he feels very comfortable with. That's first and foremost. But also, Darvish is a plus-minus guy, so he'll throw that pitch. You know, the velocity will really start to spread on both of those, and then sometimes you have a hard time differentiating between the two.
In play, the Shields breaking on a hop, and he's able to save it. That could have been trouble with Calhoun, who runs well.
But here's you, Darvish, so far, and how he has finished off the 6 hitters that he has tonight. Talk about the great live stuff. The fastball up and into Mike Trout. Saw Marte just frozen. ANDRELTON Simmons looking. Danny Espinosa on a full count takes a look at a cutter. And Escobar chasing a slider out of the zone. You, Darvish, so far has it working tonight. What he would like to be able to do, of course, now you mentioned the last inning, get that pitch count down somehow. That is what Jeff Bannister had talked about. And he knows he can maintain his velocity in life and everything else and bite on the slider probably later than most. He's a big, strong guy. He's used to high pitch counts, but they still want to be careful when you're coming off of Tommy John surgery.
Strike 1 to Trout following the first hit of this ball game for the Angels. That snapped a string of 9 in a row sat down by Darvish. Now Trout right now riding a 12-game hitting streak, 9 extra base hits of his 19. You can see where he ranks right now in the American League.
I mean, just one time, man. When's the off year coming? All right, everyone has one.
And on the knuckles, 0-2.
It's incredible the consistency of this guy, and he feels like he's never in a slump, never the off year. In the years that he didn't win the MVP, you could have made a case that he could have been MVP.
And many did.
Seasons. Yeah, I mean, listen, we know he struggled when he first came up, right? When he was 19 years old and hit 220 that first year, didn't make the team out of camp after that. But once he got called up in 2012 in late April, that was it. Got some hardware between these two guys, and you mentioned it earlier. Not only the 5 MVPs between them. What was it, 4 second-place finishes for Albert Pujols?
4 times, twice losing to Bonds, once to Ryan Howard. Joey Votto got him once in 2010.
He got 3 for Trout. He lost 2 to Miguel Cabrera, 1 to Josh Donaldson. So, yeah, they could exchange some sob stories between them.
An appeal down to first base, where Bill Miller tells us that Trout does not go.
Or Trout could sit there and say, I should probably have, 5. And Pujols, yeah, I should probably have like 7 or 8.
The 1-2.
It's amazing, right? We watch you, Darvish, and we're talking about all those 3-ball counts, and then he gets ahead Mike Trout 0-2, and he keeps pounding strikes. It's such a strange thing to see from him, where he'll pick away and fall behind. There'll be that slider in the dirt. And all of a sudden now here he is against Mike Trout as he has pumped 21 pitches at better than 95 miles an hour. Sounds like a lot.
Calhoun at first.
21 more than I threw my whole career.
Trout thinks about it. Holds off on the curve. It's 2-2. Now 11 pitches thrown to Trout, 7 have been strikes. So isn't it interesting whether this is something that Darvish is aware of or not? We talk about him falling behind 2-0, 3-1 to so many hitters. It has not necessarily been the case to Trout. He has been peppering the strike zone to the game's best player. Wow, you thought he was about to get rung up. I think Trout even thought that.
There almost seemed like there was some kind of conversation going on behind the plate, as if Adam Hamari wanted to explain what happened. This ball was right at the bottom of the zone, as you see Hamari kind of start to stand up a little bit, and then he's like, he looks at Trout. I mean, it's almost I don't know if I've ever seen that before. A lot of different reactions going on, and Yu Darvish and obviously Jeff Bannister not thrilled with the call or lack thereof.
7th pitch to Trout. Calhoun taken off, thumped into the corner in left field, and this is a fair ball. Calhoun hits the bag at third. He's coming home. Here comes a throw to the plate. No tag. He's safe, and it's 1-0 as now Trout into third, and he's safe. And Darvish and Bannister are saying if only that was called strike 3.
What a difference a missed call makes. And sometimes you say, what's the big deal? 1 strike, does it matter? Well, it certainly mattered in this at bat against Mike Trout, who puts a good swing on this pitch and ends up being down, back-to-back down. That one was even in. And he hammers this ball, and you see Cole Calhoun was on the run. And there was a chance here for the Rangers. This throw from Delino DeShields was a little bit off. Elvis Andrus had to go get it. And it was a one-hopper. Jonathan Lucroy unable to pick it, and Yu Darvish unfortunately not backing up Lucroy the way that he should have been, which allowed Mike Trout to go down to third.
It's a double and an E6, an error on Andrus as the infield creeps in now with Pujols at the plate. Isn't it something we talked earlier about Darvish and what he has been able to do putting away hitters with 2 strikes, barely hitting much over 100. Trout falls behind 0-2 quickly, gets the double, brings in a run, and now stands at third base.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Mike Trout is a different hitter than pretty much every other hitter in the big leagues. But yes, when you look at those numbers and how good Yu Darvish has been coming into today, I mentioned the 113 batting average against after 2 strike counts and the 6 strikeouts that we have seen as well. But Mike Trout's a little bit different.
And Pujols has some words for Darvish. And Pujols now pointing over towards the Rangers dugout. Adam Amari trying to get in the middle. First at bat for Pujols. He got brushed back then too.
I think Albert Pujols not happy, obviously, with how close this pitch was, up and in. Sometimes we see guys overreact. I don't think that is necessarily the case here. This ball was certainly up very high near Albert Pujols' hands and kind of under his chin, so he's certainly dissatisfied and feeling like Yu Darvish should not be missing by that much. He has something to say. Maybe the dugout had something to say back.
Will he make him pay? Down by the pole. This is a foul ball.
Let's take a look. I think Albert Pujols thought this ball had a chance. As you can see it there, yeah, absolutely foul.
Infield in, Trout at third, nobody out. The 1-2. DeShields has it in his sights. Trout ready to take off. He scores easily. It's a sacrifice fly from Albert Pujols, and the Angels capitalize on the error by Andrus. It's now 2-0 Halos.
Well, certainly a pretty intense at bat there. When it's all said and done, ending in a sacrifice. Elvis Andrus walking over to Yu Darvish just to make sure that the emotions stay calm, make sure that he stays within himself. Albert Pujols obviously not happy with that 95-mile-an-hour fastball that he saw up and in, but certainly there's no intent Yu Darvish in that situation, but that doesn't mean that a hitter can't be upset about it.
He's still hot about it.
Somebody in the dugout that he's not happy with, that he's pointing to and talking to. I'm not sure who it is.
With some carry out to Gomez. Well, you saw the RBI list updated with Albert Pujols now tying Ted Williams on the all-time RBI list, tying him for 14th all-time. He recently passed Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh shit! I mean, that's two big names to pass within 2 nights, and just to give you an idea of how great Albert Pujols has been in those situations, in case you didn't know, yeah, Ted Williams, Ken Griffey Jr. He's in some pretty special company.
He's closing in on career home run number 600. He's 6 shy.
He's still hot about what happened, and I'm not sure who it was in that Ranger dugout, but I'm very disappointed, very unhappy with what somebody said over there.
Simmons gets tied up at strike 1. Now for Darvish, consider the fact we saw the buffet of strikeouts for Darvish. He struck out 5 of 6 batters and suddenly gave up back-to-back hits. The throwing error from Andrews, advancing Trout into third base, setting up the chance for a sac fly. Things quickly turning for Darvish.
It really is unbelievable to think how quickly things change, right? The missed call, the double by Trout, the overthrow that gets away from Jonathan Lucroy, then the pitch that gets up and away, and all of a sudden, or excuse me, up and in. The intensity really elevated.
Over Andrews to DeShields. And the inning continues as that pitch count really starting to ratchet up, now at 80 for Darvish. As he's gone 3 2/3 so far.
We talk about Andrelton Simmons, such an aggressive hitter, swinger regardless of count. Didn't exactly square this ball up, but it was up enough for him to get into left field.
Doug Brocail out to have a word along with Lucroy. Now the Angels did not have a hit until Calhoun singled to begin this 4th inning.
I'll tell you this, when your heart is racing as fast as Yu Darvish's probably is right now with everything that just happened, it is rare. Uh-oh.
And now Brocail having some words.
And he's got a good argument. Doug Brocail knows how much of a difference that pitch made to Mike Trout, and the missed call on the pitch that was down. The reaction from Hamari is also probably what set some guys off, because there was a flinch there. It looked like he was going to make the call, and it looked like he said something to Mike Trout, which doesn't necessarily make sense. So the Rangers are certainly displeased with what happened there. What I was going to say about is, you know, as far as Yu Darvish and those conversations, it is rare that you actually take in what your pitching coach says at that moment. I'm just thinking about this next hitter and getting out of the inning.
Simmons back in time. Long inning for Darvish. This will be pitch number 25 here in the 4th.
That's not that surprising with Yu Darvish, right? Because we talked about the high ball counts and where he is percentage wise, and it's kind of how it's been for him so far this year, where the strike percentage not nearly as high as you would like it to be. 57% so far in this game. You'd much rather see him 64, 65.
Hit and run on. Simmons taken off, but another foul ball, and it's 1-2 to Revere. And think about what Darvish was able to accomplish when he came to the States right away. An all-star each of his first 3 seasons before Tommy John. Led the majors in strikeouts his 2nd year, finished 2nd in the Cy Young to Max Scherzer that year. Twice taking a no-hitter or even a perfect game all the way to the final out before it was broken up. Now in his 5th season, you can see his overall numbers.
A little bit of a different feel when he got over here as far as those complete games. Of course, when Yu Darvish was in Japan as an ace, he expected, as so many guys do, to finish most of your starts, and he did it often in Japan.
Runner taken off again, and another pitch spoiled foul by Revere. Simmons, who reached on the 2-out single into left field. That's where all 3 of the Angels' hits this inning have gone. Towards DeShields in left.
By the way, 55 complete games for Yu Darvish when he was in Japan.
Well, that's more than a career for a 10-year starter here in the States now.
He had 3 years of 10. He completed 12 of 26 starts back in 2007 when I played against him. 26 starts and up over 200 innings. It's going deep in games pretty consistently.
How close to Elvis was he like in Japan?
It's pretty good comparison, actually, because it didn't matter what city he was in. He was the biggest deal. Billboards of him, regardless of what city you were in, he was a rock star.
2-2.
And still is, for that matter.
Darvish now at 85 pitches here in the 4th. And it just continues.
That's the part that gets frustrating, right? When you start to get the pitch count up there. We saw the early strikeouts. We haven't seen one at all this inning. Obviously, the 2 runs come across the board, and it's also been an intense inning as well. Then you're trying to finish it off, and it's foul ball after foul ball.
Alex Claudio beginning to warm up. Into right field. Mazzara able to make the chin high catch to end the inning. Damage done. Nearly 20 minutes to get 3 outs in the 4th. Mike Trout helping to give the Angels a 2-0 lead as we move to the bottom of the 4th inning. That's where Mike Napoli leads off. Long inning down for Jesse Chavez.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something to maybe look back at that inning and say, well, okay, what's good about Jesse Chavez sitting for a little while as you see what the starters have done here with the Angels as of late. And we asked Mike Sosa about that a little bit earlier. Just a real slow start for this team. All of a sudden they got it back together, but some bad news with Tyler Skaggs going down.
Now Sosa's rotation, 2 runs or fewer in 9 straight, 3 runs or fewer in each of the last 14 games. Pulled, And Escobar able to gobble it up. Now number 1. Napoli 0 for 2, twice has grounded out to the left side.
Ball was hit pretty hard. Mike Napoli to get hitter's count. Just got on top of it a little bit. Escobar makes a nice play. There's plenty of time to throw out Mike Napoli. That play doesn't happen without that movement, by the way. You see that on the replay, how he's kind of jumping as the play is coming. If your feet aren't moving, not going to be nearly as quick to your left or to your right the way that Escobar was right there. Cannot play the infield or any position for that matter flat-footed.
How upset do you think Joey Gallo is now that Manny Machado has hit the longest home run in baseball this year? As Machado going 470 over the monuments in last night's incredible Orioles Yankees game, top 2 teams in the American League East. And you can see the popcorn cart out there that got a souvenir after Gallo went 460 plus.
I will tell you something. That was an impressive home run, but it wasn't as impressive as the one he hit earlier in the year, which went in the second deck in right field. It was a little bit more in the gap as he went up there and went way up there. When he first hit it, happened to be in this booth at the time, I thought I had a chance to get to the roof. Like, you get a little thrown off here. Obviously wasn't the case, but you had to make your adjustments. I was like, get up there. It's got a chance to maybe catch the roof. Nobody's ever gone up there in a regular season game. I remember when this ballpark was first built and coming through here back in the mid 90s, where they would have that sign up there. It said 501 feet away. Win a suit if you can hit the sign. I think you get a lot more if you hit it up there, but it hasn't happened yet. But I don't know if Joey Gallo's upset about that. I mean, he's certainly very happy with how his season is going so far. The consistent playing time that he's getting. He's also talked about where his confidence level is right now. Of course, that is so huge for young players as you're trying to establish yourself, get over that hump of believing you belong.
It's rung up here. First strikeout for Jesse Chavez.
And would that have been the one you would expected? Fastball down the middle to Joey Gallo, looking as aggressive as he is. It's a good pitch, and Mr. Chavez, after getting the lead, decided he's going to go right at Joey Gallo, and I don't know if he was trying to play along and looking for something else, but that pitch caught him off guard.
2 outs now facing Elvis Andrus. Andrus' single his last time up was stranded at third base to end the second inning.
Asked Mike Sosa about Jesse Chavez, and would there be any kind of innings limit on him? Yeah, he's an older guy, but he was a reliever all of last year. And he said, you know what, we're just not in that position right now. We can't afford to think about it or to worry about it or to try to pace guys. We've needed help in our rotation. We like Jesse. We believe he's got a rubber arm, which when you have a rubber arm, you don't always love that your manager says that, because he thinks he can just throw you as much as he wants whenever he wants, whether you're a reliever or a starter. But they do believe that about Jesse Chavez, and not that they're going to abuse him, but they're just in a spot right now where they can't be thinking about innings and pitch limits. And Jesse, being the veteran that he is, I don't think he cares either.
Kind of a late strike call, wasn't it?
It's a good way to get Jeff Bannister kicked out of this game. Not only was it a late call with that ball, if you put it right next to that Mike Trout strike that was called a ball, I got to believe those two are very similar.
Bannister not amused. Two outs, nobody on, bottom of the fourth. And a 1-2-3 bottom of the fourth inning spun by Chavez, who strikes out 2 to finish things off. one is sponsored by the Lincoln Continental. On to the top of the 5th. Here from inside Globe Life Park, the lights turned on. Some low, threatening clouds possibly overhead.
It's been better than expected, right? There was some
No
serious
doubt about
call
that.
for rain earlier today that did not fall here in Arlington.
Ball one to Danny Espinosa, who struck out looking in his last at bat. He also took an absolutely vicious hop while playing second base, deep at second base. In fact, in shallow right field, that fortunately looked like glanced off part of his ball cap. Now, if you're Jeff Bannister, CJ, we mentioned it earlier, for Darvish, his highest pitch count, his highest innings total, his last start since coming off of Tommy John. The pitch count here today is very elevated, now at 90. How much do you consider the last start when you're thinking about how long he goes for you here tonight?
It matters a little bit, to some degree, but you also have the extra day because they had a day off, so you don't maybe worry about it as much with you, Darvish. And listen, they have dual aces here with Cole Hamels and you, Darvish, but you still want to be able to push your aces a little bit. I think that's what probably Jeff Bannister and Doug Brocail are talking about. I do think you can treat you, Darvish, a little bit different, even though there is that injury history. This is a guy who wants to be a horse, expects to be a horse, and to see him bounce back already right away and be able to finish off Danny Espinosa, with a good changeup, look like, I think probably tells those guys all they need to know. But
that snaps the longest strikeout drought on the night for Darvish. Maldonado striking out looking on a fastball his last time up. Now maybe starting to come down a little bit here in Arlington. And judging by the 30,000 some who are seeking higher ground, probably a safe assumption.
The ponchos are kind of a giveaway as well.
Ahead 0-2 on Maldonado, the number 9 hitting catcher. Just gets a piece right back to the glove of LUCROY at 95 miles an hour. 8 strikeouts now for you, Darvish.
It really is incredible to see how well Darvish has thrown the ball today. We got that one inning that got a little out of hand in the 4th, but other than that, he has been incredibly solid. And these are the strikeouts that Jeff Bannister likes to see, where it's limited pitches, not going too deep. See the rain starting to come down now here. Hopefully this wasn't the real heavy one that they were expecting.
Strike one to Escobar. Well, Darvish's season high in strikeouts is 10. That came the last time he faced the Angels. Angels getting both their runs in the 4th. Sac fly by Pujols, an RBI double by Trout. Strikes out the side in order. 9 punch outs for you, Darvish, through 5 innings. Chu leads off the bottom of the 5th inning. Looks at a strike from Jesse Chavez. Now Chavez, for the first time tonight, retired the Rangers in order in the 4th. Now Darvish gets all the play, all the pub, all the strikeouts, but it's been Chavez who's thrown up the zeros so far.
He's been solid. You don't want to get him settled in. There was an opportunity, of course, for the Rangers, and they had a couple of base runners back in the 3rd and also a couple of base runners in the 2nd. They were unable to capitalize, and so Jesse Chavez is looking very comfortable.
Finding the wind a little bit. Trout makes the catch for round number 1. Now, Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, just go to playball.org. Pretty quick out number 1 here is LUCROY.
And one of the storylines here in Texas will be the battery, has been and will be the entire season. The battery here today with Jonathan Lucroy and Yu Darvish, both free agents at the end of the year, and 2 pretty significant pieces. We know, of course, Jonathan Lucroy is off to a little bit of a slow start, but that hasn't changed his impact and certainly the value of what kind of player he is and what he brings to the table.
Slicing gap right center field. Calhoun not able to get there, off the wall. Extra bases for Lucroy, so that'll help things out. That slow start, a 1-out double.
Whenever a guy's struggling a little bit, you start to look for the approach, and when you see him square up some baseballs but also do it to the opposite way, that tells you that the timing is right and the swing is right. Jonathan Lucroy counts on that separation of his hands and his lower body, getting his foot down on time. He does that here. It's a nice swing and a good double here in the 5th inning for the Rangers and Jonathan Lucroy.
You know, last night in game 1 for the Rangers, a loss to the Angels. 7 hits, 5 singles, the other 2 doubles. First extra base hit for Texas here tonight since the Carlos Gomez double in the 1st. The Shields represents the tying run. You mentioned this at the start of this game, CJ, the significance of seeing the Shields leading off facing a right-hander here tonight.
Well, it hasn't happened very often for him, and that's because Jurickson Profar, as a switch hitter, was getting most of the time in left field. Delano got a couple of starts against left-handed starters, did a really nice job. Drew a few walks, was getting on base. He's got the great speed.
Soft pop-up, first base side. Marte, 2 outs.
Jeff Bannister thought he saw enough, and also combined with the Jurickson Profar struggles, to give Delano some more opportunity. I don't know if he got jammed. Looked like he was holding his thumb there. He just got jammed a little bit. I don't think it was anything significant. We'll see.
I'm trying to find out that same thing in the dugout right now. Two outs. Lucroy is at second base. Now, Nomar Mazara, the RBI leader so far this year for the Rangers, despite not driving in a run in an awfully long time. In fact, if you include what has happened here so far for Mazara tonight, 0 for 1 with a walk, he has not driven in a run in his last 34 plate appearances.
Yeah, and I think with Nomar, after getting off to that great start and opposing teams taking notice, they decided to go ahead and try to work him in a little bit more with some hard velocity. It's been a little bit of an issue for him trying to get to that pitch. It was an unbelievable hot start for him, which he answered a lot of questions because, you know, he last year had the great year, but he finished not great, right? Struggled a little bit and struggled against lefties, but he started the year on fire.
Maldonado, a long throw down to second base. Watchful eye on Lucroy. When you think about it, to your point, CJ, at this time last year, Nomar Mazara was putting the finishing touches on truly the best offensive April by any Rangers rookie ever, winning the American League Rookie of the Month. And this April, a little bit of a different story. 2 for his last 32.
It's interesting that they would be so worried about Jonathan Lucroy, who is going nowhere. He's not going anywhere right now with 2 outs. I mean, I understand you want to keep a guy as he's shaking his head saying, come on, guys, you know I'm not stealing right now. You know, you worry about secondary leads. Of course, you want to keep an eye on that in a close game. But also, Martin Maldonado was not afraid to back pick at all. Going back to last year, nobody has tried to back pick runners to second base more than him.
If you look at the pop time from his glove to the second baseman's glove last year, nobody was quicker than Maldonado.
Take advantage of it, and you know, you get it and you understand it and why he would want to do it. But at the same time, I think you want your guys kind of being smart, picking the right spots and picking the right guys. 25 times he's tried that since the start of last year, most in baseball.
Two and two. Now Mazzara, with 14 home runs on the season, represents a tie-in run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th.
Interesting what they want to try to do here. We saw Jesse Chavez start this at bat away. I think they know that if they want to, they can tie him up in. We'll see if he's more comfortable going back away.
The 2-2. Missing the outside corner. Now Mazzara drawing a walk his last time up. Full count here with 2 outs. And Gomez on deck. Gomez 2 for 2. Simmons. LUCROY coming home. Rangers are on the board, and Mazzara with his team-leading 18th RBI makes it now 2-1 Angels.
And Nomar Mazzara has got to be pretty happy with that one. It had been a while since he had driven in a run, and in a big spot here, the Rangers trailing by 2 and 2 outs. And we saw a lot of back and forth. Look at that grip changeup. Jesse Chavez, and the pitch was away. Wasn't a terrible one, up a little bit in that count. But Nomar Mazzara, who had been getting tied up in so often, does a nice job of staying on that changeup, getting the arms extended. And it's almost hard to believe where they had Andrelton Simmons playing. If you're going to throw a left-handed hitter changeup away, and he's standing right behind second base, he had to dive to his right, and the ball was still hit well up the middle. But good job by Nomar.
Gomez jumps the first pitch. Trout picking up some speed, lays out, can't make the catch. Mazzara hits the bag at third. He's coming home. Gomez digging for third. And this game is tied at 2.
Well, Mike Trout probably will tell you this is a ball that he thought he could catch. We saw him as he was running, looking at the wall, trying to find the track, figure out how much time he had. He has got great closing speed. His speed sometimes as Carlos Gomez crushes this ball. A little slider was left away from Jesse Chavez. But watch Mike Trout as he's running here, looking at the wall, thinking he's got a beat on it. He just missed it. And a good job by Nomar Mazzara with 2 outs here. You put your head down and you run. Carlos Gomez, we know how aggressive he is. Keeps his shoes on this time. Comes up with a big triple.
Gomez, his first triple, now a home run shy of the cycle.
That's more fun to say than a triple shy of the cycle, right? That's usually where we end up, but he's got an opportunity to do something pretty special tonight.
And we've seen 2 already this month. Trey Turner, the most recent. Will Myers before that. Both coming to Coors Field.
They count there? Those count?
They've had their fair share. 2 outs, go ahead run 90 feet from home. Here is Odor. And Odor breaking a trend set by himself here tonight. He has seen 2 pitches, and he has been out in 2 at-bats. He swung at the first pitch of the first. Same story in the third when he bounced to a double play. Not a guy known for his on-base abilities, but very much for his pop. Foul ball. Now for Jesse Chavez, spinning 4 scoreless innings, coming off his quickest frame of the 4th. And then with 2 outs, back-to-back base hits, had 2 strikes against Mazzara, and suddenly a tied game. Saws him off on the hands. Maldonado giving chase. And Odor will need to get a new stick. Now for Odor, last night making his season debut, batting cleanup. He's back in the number 4 spot here tonight. Jeff Bannister moving Odor and Napoli in the orders.
This is interesting here. I wonder if they think that maybe there was a possibility of catcher's interference. I don't know what else Jeff Bannister could be asking about, unless they want to talk about potential balk situation. Jesse Chavez, that's the other thing. He's pitching out of the windup, so he really limits what he can do, and he maybe believes that's what he saw. We'll see. You're just trying to guess along here with Jeff Bannister. I mean, neither of those are reviewable. You can't, you're not going to review a balk. Let's see here. I don't know exactly. Banny seems pretty upset and enough where he feels like it's worth having a longer conversation. And does not like the answers that he's getting from Adam Hamari. Take a look at replay, just see if we can guess what's going on. Now, catcher's interference is not reviewable. Balks are not reviewable. That wasn't either one of those. Anything on the backswing? No. It may have been something with Jesse Chavez. I'm not sure.
A conversation that seemed to be escalating a little bit.
I'm guessing that it's on a balk potentially. It's the only thing I can think of, because he's looking down at the first base umpire. And I'll tell you, I'm not a fan of pitching from the windup with a runner on third. I know a lot of guys do it, but you run the risk.
Club, is it fair? Is it foul? This is off the pole for a home run.
There's such thing as icing the kicker in baseball, but you wonder for Jesse Chavez having to wait around a little bit while Jeff Bannister made his argument. Maybe that did the trick, but Jesse Chavez gives up a big 2-run home run. Rougned Odor, he knew that if it was fair, it was gone. He stood there, he watched it for a little while and waited until it hit the foul pole.
All 4 runs coming this inning with 2 outs. The 1-0 to Mike Napoli. Big swing and a miss. One and 2. Now for Odor, his 4th. Has given the Rangers a 4-2 lead. We've seen a little bit of everything so far in this game. We've seen some tempers flare between Pujols and Darvish and Bannister. The strike three that wasn't to Mike Trout, who then doubled on the next pitch to give the Angels a very temporary lead. Strike three called. Chavez finishes up the bottom of the fifth, but damage is dealt. A tied ball game when Rougned Odor flanked this one over towards right field. Right field foul pole and has given the Rangers a 4-2 lead.
That'd feel good for Rougned Odor as well. Been struggling a little bit this season. You talked about, you know, he's a power guy. You're not going to get necessarily high on base, and when he starts to struggle a little bit, you don't want him to change. You don't want him to lose that aggressiveness.
Ball one to Cole Calhoun, a single and a run scored back in the fourth. Odor signing the lucrative multi-year extension during spring training, which included a couple of horses.
Literally included a couple of horses.
This is a real. We're not making that up. Had you heard of an extension or a contract involving horses before, CJ?
Never horses, tractors.
Never horses.
Remember, was it Roy Oswalt got the tractor?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
From Drayton McLean. It wasn't a cheap one either.
3-0.
Now, one thing I've seen Jeff Bannister do this year with you, Darvish, and even a couple of his guys, so we'll sit there and we'll kind of play along. So, okay, is he getting tired? Is he running out of gas? Will Darvish bounce back with a really nice inning in the fifth inning, a clean one where he struck out the side? He will let his guys go a little bit longer, and so he's giving you, Darvish, an opportunity here to kind of stake his claim on this game. Not just to win, obviously he's in line for it right now, still a ways to go, but he's been pretty good about giving some of his guys in his rotation, especially his top guys, a little bit of a longer leash than you might expect.
A walk on 4 pitches here is Mike Trout. Some controversy his last at bat, CJ.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's an argument to be had. You, Darvish, wasn't happy about it. Jonathan LUCROY wasn't happy about it. That should have been called strike 3, but instead Mike Trout stays alive, gets another pitch. The very next pitch drills that double down the left field line, goes to third on the errant throw. That kind of changed the complete landscape of that inning, because then it was the at bat, the very next pitch, and that very next at bat down for Pujols, where he didn't like a pitch that was up and in, turned into a sac fly, and that's how the Angels got ahead here early on with a 2-0 lead. And it's one thing, listen, umpires are going to miss pitches. It's going to happen. It's part of the game. There is some frustration, though, when it happens. Big situations. or really big hitters, right? It's one thing.
Yes.
You know, it's like when you're facing like Mike Trout. I mean, I get it happens. You're just like, hey man, do me a favor, please don't miss any pitches that are strikes. You really
zone in.
You'd be doing me a huge favor because it's hard enough as it is. I remember one of the first times I ever faced Cal Ripken, and I accidentally split the plate on an 0-2 count. Umpire calls it a ball. And I kind of had the same like similar reaction, and he gets a base hit next time around. But the worst part was the catcher comes out and says, "Oh, Durwood Merrill wants you to know that he missed that call."
Oh gosh.
Well, that doesn't help anything. I'd rather you not tell me that. Make me feel worse.
Darvish gets ahead 1-2. Trout is the tying run. He has 7 home runs this month. His highest home run total in any April of his career. Now Darvish is 1 strike away from his second 10 strikeout game already this season. He struck out 10 Angels the last time these two teams met. Full count.
I mentioned Jeff Bannister having that leash with you, Darvish. The walks, though, and any pitcher for that matter, where you get to this point, your team has a nice inning, recaptures or takes the lead in this game for the first time in the case of the Rangers. The walks he will not tolerate, not let his guys stick around. But if you're throwing strikes and you're competing, he'll give you an opportunity.
Back-to-back walks to begin the top of the 6th. And here comes Albert Pujols.
Let's go back to the first inning with Albert Pujols and take a look at how some of this maybe drama started to build. Now that was a breaking ball that was up and in, and Albert Pujols didn't have much of a reaction, but it was later in the 4th inning. That's 95 miles an hour, and that's even closer. And so you kind of put those two things together, and then somebody was chirping from the Ranger dugout. Albert Pujols wasn't happy with that. And the intensity really kind of built up pretty quickly. It was first a missed strike in that 4th inning, called strike, the double, and then that from Albert Pujols, and he was still upset about it later. Almost hit a home run. It was foul, ended up being a sacrifice fly later in the at bat. But when he got back to the dugout, even after the inning ended, he was still upset about whatever he heard or thought he heard coming from the Rangers dugout.
In last night's game, it was Pujols in the 8th inning, a 3-run go-ahead homer, and here he is with 2 men on, nobody out, representing the go-ahead run. Calhoun at second, Trout at first. Swing and a miss for strike 1.
It's a big swing from Albert Pujols, and you know what he is thinking. That situation, he sees that 4-seam fastball coming, and when he almost hit that home run before him, he looked at it. He's going to enjoy the moment if he squares one up, and payback on the mind right now, I think, of Albert Pujols.
0-2. Next RBI, he would pass Ted Williams on the all-time RBI list. The 0-2 from Darvish. This is a foul ball, not by much.
Another great play down the line, and the guy in the helmet saved to see again. To see another day. She's killing it down there off the tarp. I mean, he didn't go hands out of the pocket, nothing. That's confidence. Thank you for saving me again.
2 on, nobody out. The 0-2. Swing and a miss. 10 strikeouts for Darvish.
You Darvish going right at Albert Pujols. Walks Cole Calhoun. Walks Mike Trout and comes back to those 4 straight strikes to Albert Pujols and finishes him off with a really good breaking ball down and away.
Ball 1 to Jeffrey Marte. Now for Darvish, this marks his 30th game, his 30th start of at least 10 strikeouts. He is 4 shy of the club record. You probably don't need too many guesses as to who said that one. Who else but Nolan Ryan? Marte not pleased with that call. It's 1-1. Our in-game box score rather for the Angels. Both their runs coming in the fourth. Trout the doubled, advancing to third on the air by Andrews.
See you, Darvish, still holding his velocity pretty well here. 95, 96 miles an hour. We talked about it earlier. Even though that pitch count all the way up at 114. It's funny. It almost seems like such a big number these days. And there's guys from 15, even 10, 15 years ago.
That's their bullpen.
What's the big deal?
Well, this is now the new high water mark for Darvish. He threw 113 over those 8 strong innings his last start against Kansas City. 1-2 to Marte. At last look, the highest pitch count for a starter this year was Justin Verlander, who threw 119 just a few days ago.
Those are guys, again, that maintain velocity late. They've kind of been there and they've done that. They're a pain to take out of the game, right? They're always going to be a headache. They want to stay in there. And it's good to see some throwbacks.
Check swing and appeal. Full count.
That's a good slider from you, Darvish. And Marte does a good job of holding up, or at least it appeared that he did, and he did. That's a good call. Tough pitch to lay off of, one that finishes just off the plate. And Yu Darvish is grinding it out right here, and he knows if he can't get Marte out, this could be his last hitter.
20th pitch this inning. Well, they want the appeal, but that is another walk. Darvish has walked the bases loaded to the 6th, right after the Rangers gave him a 4-2 lead. One walk over the first 5 innings for Darvish, now 3 in the span of 4 batters.
Tough spot here for Jeff Bannister. You see Tony Barnett in the bullpen. He's ready to go. He's done a nice job for this club so far. Doug Brocail also on the top step, the pitching coach here in Texas. We'll tell you, pitchers love this, and Yu Darvish has to appreciate it. Even though there's been 3 walks this inning, this stuff has been live. Jeff Bannister's going to give him an opportunity to try to work out of this.
Bases loaded for Simmons, who singled off of Darvish's last time up. Looks at strike 1. A tremendous speed on the base paths at third and second for the Angels. Calhoun and Trout. Marte at first.
Still good life on that slider. That one got a little bit horizontal on Yu Darvish. We've seen the good one or have a little bit more depth, but that one was hard too at 86. Maybe a little bit more of a cutter. You were talking about the cutter and the slider earlier, and what happens is if he throws that slider a little bit harder, starts to get to mid to upper 80s, or if he takes a little bit off the cutter, start to get in that same spot as well. 86, 87.
Pours in a strike, 1-2. And now at 120 pitches, this the highest pitch count of any starter in baseball so far this season. One past Verlander from earlier in the week.
See a good fastball with some good life. Came back over the plate a little bit more than Yu Darvish wanted it.
What kind of fumes does Darvish have left in the tank here? Now the 1-2.
This is the 10th time for Yu Darvish in his career where he's seen at least 120 pitches, and this is his 106th career start. Career high of 130 he threw back in 2013 against the Tigers.
Time is called. Now, the Rangers have been the best in baseball in double plays. 3 more than the Rockies, and Darvish has helped that out. He's averaged a double play per start so far this season.
And they were a year ago. They let all of Major League Baseball in double plays turn. The middle has been really solid with Elvis Andrus and Rougned Odor.
A soft pop-up. Gallo, who's had a pretty quiet night defensively, puts the squeeze on that for out number 2.
So you want to be a big league manager one day, huh? You want to make these decisions when you look at that pitch count at 122. You got your ace on the mound. You know how badly he wants it. He's also a free agent this year. I think, you know, I'm not going to say that comes into play maybe in game, but you know what's back there. You want him to feel that you trust him, that he can do this. That is not an easy thing to do, especially the way that they got here, right? Walking the bases loaded makes that decision so much more difficult. But Jeff Bannister continues to show faith here in Yu Darvish, and he's going to try to reward him by finishing this inning off.
Tie and run at second base, the go ahead at first. Revere 0 for 2 tonight facing Darvish. Twice he has flown out. Looking at a first pitch strike.
So this next pitch now at 124 will be the 4th highest total ever for Yu Darvish in his career here in the U.S.
Missing with some heat, 1-1. Now Ben Revere and Cole Calhoun, the only 2 batters in the order tonight for the Angels who have not struck out to this point, facing Yu Darvish. He has struck out 10. He has walked 4-3 this inning. The 1-1. Reaching for it, pulls it to Odor. And Darvish is able to walk the high wire here in the 6th inning. And he gets out of a jam. He has got 6 and struck out 10. Yu Darvish. Gallo, a swinging strike to begin the Rangers' 6th.
Hugs all around, a big hug. Probably a little bit of exhaustion there, I got to believe, for you, Darvish, but a well-earned hug. I got to tell you, it's fun to watch because for me, I'm getting him out of there. I'd have a hard time keeping you, Darvish, in that spot, especially when he starts to lose command of the strike zone the way that he did. But Jeff Bannister didn't waver. He didn't look nervous. He wasn't pacing. Yeah, he made up his mind that he was going to let you, Darvish, work out of it, and you, Darvish, answered the bell.
Now, how much of that is because of Tommy John? Is that a thing of the past now? Does that not factor into decisions like tonight because they happened long enough ago?
I think they're far enough away, and it does help. You know, it's a full 5 days rest, so there's an extra day's of rest in there. The Rangers had off on Thursday. That probably goes into it as well. Pitch counts are not created equal. Every guy is different, and we talked about what you, Darvish, did in his career in Asia and all those complete games, 55 over the course of his career. And he's a different kind of animal. And so Jeff Bannister knows everything about this guy and how he's going to react to those situations as well. And he's confident doing it. Does he want to throw him 125 pitches regularly? He doesn't. But in that moment, he wanted to give it to you, and he delivered.
To Trout in center field for round number 1. Gallo 0 for 3. Stay connected with MLB.com at Bat, your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Get club branded home screen icons and app features as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast news, and much more. You can download MLB.com at Bat today. Now the poncho's still out here inside Globe Life Park, but what sense of kind of moderate rain we had? Looks like it's mostly gone at this point. Strike 1 to Andrews.
I think we dodged a bullet with this weather because even waking up this morning, I'm seeing 100% a couple hours before the game, and it never rained.
Andrews has multiple hits in all 4 games he's played so far this year against the Angels. He's 1 for 2 tonight.
Keep thinking about how this game is kind of developed so far in the point that we're at. And who knows what will happen. There's still plenty of time here left. We're only in the bottom of the 6th inning, but that Mike Trout play, that ball that he missed, could end up being a pretty huge play in this. That would have ended the inning.
You're right.
Score would have still been 2-1. No, we'll see. Still plenty of time, and it wasn't an easy play, but a play I think that you would expect, and Mike Trout I think would tell you he expects to catch. Right field can be a little tricky because that wall starts to jet out a little bit, and so that's why I think, not that he was tentative, but that's why he was looking for the wall.
Clubbed out towards Trout. He's got space. 2 down, both the way of the Angels center fielder.
We'll see. We'll see what happens here in this game. Obviously, you, Darvish, was really big in that last inning, but you start to wonder just could it be a Mike Trout? I want to say it's a defensive miscue, but kind of sort of. Well, certainly wasn't an error, but a play I think that you would expect him to make that could be the difference in this game.
Well, we heard Jeff Bannister tell us before the game began that Trout just has this extra burst. You think he's running top flight speed, and then all of a sudden he kicks it into that extra gear, and we saw that pick up. And because Trout is held to the highest standards
yes.
at the plate, on the bases, in center field, you just kind of assumed that he was going to make that catch.
A very unfair high standard that really no player, even the greatest in our game, I think could live up to, but he has been pretty incredibly consistent over the course of his career.
2-0 to Shin-Soo Choo with 2 outs. Jesse Chavez, a former Rangers draft pick, comes home with the next offering to make it now 3-0.
Of course, the former Pittsburgh Pirates, so Jeff Bannister is extremely familiar with Jesse Chavez, and when Jesse first broke through in the big leagues with the Pirates system, Jeff Bannister was on the bench as a bench coach for that club.
Now for Chavez, 7 years, 5 different organizations to log his first 300 major league innings. Pirates, Braves, Royals, Blue Jays. Really latching on with Oakland. A walk with 2 outs. Second walk tonight for Chavez. Now Scioscia told us that Chavez has a rubber arm. He certainly has a slight build. You go back to his freshman year in high school, Jesse Chavez tipped the scales at 125. By the time he graduated high school, he had put on 5 pounds.
Wow.
He walked on stage with that diploma weighing $130. Gets drafted 42nd round by the Rangers.
A round that no longer exists.
That's right. Ended up living with the nutritionist. Put on 30 pounds.
Wow.
Reported to spring training. Lost it all.
Some guys are blessed with that metabolism. I'd take it right now. Yeah, I played with Jesse back in 2006 with the Pittsburgh Pirates in the minor league level, and it's good to see him have the career that he has and stick around the way that he has. He really is a good dude, but the fact that he's been able to do both roles and do it successfully as well, it's not as easy as it sounds.
The opposite way to Cole Calhoun near the line on a gliding catch for round number 3. We've played 6 here from Arlington. The Angels 4-2. Hope you can join us next Saturday right here on FS1. The Indians taking on the Royals with coverage beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Fox, Yankees taking on the Chicago Cubs at 7 p.m. Eastern. Indians winning earlier today. Yankees off to a home run barrage of a start to begin the season. Royals trying to get things going offensively. Recently swept on a 7-game road trip. Jose Leclerc, the new pitcher, taking over for Yu Darvish.
Leclerc has done a really nice job out of this Rangers bullpen. It's really kind of answered the call. He got an opportunity at the beginning of the season. Keone Kela did not break camp with the team, and that opened up a spot for Leclerc. And a guy, you saw the 15 strikeouts to 1 walk. It's a guy that struggled with command throughout his career. A little bit of taste of the big leagues he got last year, also in the minor leagues over the course of his career. But he has been a fantastic arm and a much needed one in this Rangers bullpen here early on in the season.
It's a fresh arm. He has not worked since Monday. A long hold on the pitch to Espinosa.
And you'll see that fastball there at 96, which is about what he averages. You'll see 95 to 97. He has a very unique pitch, though. He throws his changeup about 48% of the time, but he actually has 2 changeups, and he will intentionally cut his changeup. Yeah, he'll cut his changeup to righties on purpose. And if you look at like StatCast information or Pitch FX, they have a hard time categorizing the pitch because it looks like a slider. The old adage was you would never intentionally cut your changeup. It was usually by accident, but you also would only throw your changeup to an opposite hitter. So for him as a right-handed pitcher facing this lefty, you just want that changeup that fades away, which you do. But what do you do against the righty? And some guys would throw it once in a while. Maddox would do that, but he actually cuts it on purpose, like a 3-finger pitch,
where it goes away and acts like a slider, but it's actually a changeup.
Yanked foul.
Like, I think about times like any pitcher in my generation. I played pretty much, starting in '94 and played for almost 20 years. You cut your changeup, it was an accident, and you were probably getting a new baseball from the umpire because it kind of played right into the hitter. But he does it on purpose, and he uses it really well. There's been a couple of other guys who've kind of experimented with that idea, and Jose Leclerc may be starting a new trend in the game.
Espinosa steps out, struck out twice facing Darvish. Darvish just 2 runs, 1 earned over those 6 innings. In fact, he walked more batters than he allowed hits to. That continues the trend. The Rangers leading the American League in quality starts. They can notch another one on the belt here tonight because of Darvish. Who's going to get it? Here is Gomez with 2 hands. Espinosa now 0 for his last 8 as he clears the plate for Maldonado. Going to take that trend further for Jeff Bannister's rotation. That's now 9 straight games where a Rangers starter has not given up more than 3 runs. And this was a team, CJ, that going into spring training and then breaking camp, there was some huge question marks around parts of the rotation, mainly because of health.
No, it was a problem. This is a team that started the season with a 4-man rotation. That's why they had the 8-man bullpen. That was part of it. You see Andrew Cashner there on the right. He was dealing with some bicep soreness, so they had to go through the rotation a couple of times without him.
It was really a 4-man rotation until about the midway point this month.
Yep. That's how they ultimately did it. And then A.J. Griffin just went on the DL. He had some inflammation in his ankle. As a result, he actually had been really good. See Maldonado having a conversation now with Amari, not happy at all with that call. But there's A.J. Griffin. He had twice stopped 3-game losing streaks for the Rangers, and all of a sudden, at one point, he became the most consistent starter for the Rangers, as some guys were having some issues here and there. And then you see Tyson Ross on the right. They'd like to have him back at some point, or have him. He signs, and they knew he was going to be available sometime in May. So there's some depth, even though it was a little bit of an unusual start with the 4-man.
Maldonado, some parting shots for Adam Amari, our home plate umpire.
Now you would think that was a slider. It was not.
That was the cut.
There was the changeup from Jose Leclerc, and you can see the grip right there. It acts like a slider, looks like a slider. It's been an effective pitch, even elevated. I don't necessarily intentionally elevated it. That is a 3-finger cut changeup, as Maldonado not too happy on the way back to the dugout.
He's 0 for 3 with 3 punch outs. 2 up, 2 down for Leclerc. Here is Escobar, the leadoff man for the Angels. We talked earlier about the Rangers leading baseball in double plays turn, and Tyson Ross, when he was healthy with San Diego, he was one of the best ground ball pitchers. You can only imagine where those numbers would be, or will be, once Ross gets healthy. And the Rangers certainly hoping he returns at least close to old form.
Well, they're in a nice position right now where they're not forcing him to get there too early, right? The rotation has been pretty good. They have some depth. I mentioned Nick Martinez has really done a nice job stepping up for this club, and so Tyson Ross can take his time and make sure that when he's ready to take the mound, that he's fully ready and fully rehabbed.
There's Martinez. Gallo, chest high hop on to first base, and Leclerc out of the bullpen retires his side in order. Right now we're going to hand things over to the voice of Globe Life Park for God Bless America, Chuck Morgan.
Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. Will you please rise and direct your attention to the area behind home plate and welcome Robert Brigance. In honor of all the veterans who have served our country and the servicemen and women who are currently stationed at home and around the world, Robert Brigance will now perform God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Rangers doubling up the Angels for the time being 4-2. Delano DeShields getting set to lead things off against a new pitcher making his season debut for the Angels, Jose Valdez.
See Valdez and what he did at AAA Salt Lake City. Always tell people when you look at those numbers in the PCL, don't look at the ERA. The best hit in the league and maybe all of baseball.
Plenty of altitude, lots of elevation. That'll help. 25 games last year for Valdez with the Angels. ERA of about 4 1/4.
We talk about this a lot. We look at leadoff hitters and say, well, you know, how many times is the guy really going to lead off? Is it only once a game? This will be the 3rd time now for Delano DeShields where he gets an opportunity to lead off an inning. Led off the 1st, the 3rd, and now here in the 7th.
Everything inside, 3-0. As we take a look at the Shields, CJ, I guess one of the questions about the Rangers going forward the rest of this season, it's still very early, but what to do with Jurickson Profar? Twice the top prospect in the game, missing 2 seasons because of shoulder issues as the Shields draws ball 4. But he was one of the untradables by general manager John Daniels. You can see Profar now to the starting lineup on the bench here tonight, a switch hitter. This was a guy who in the Futures game in Kansas City a few years ago at this point, leading things off, home run right field right away, showing things off on the highest stage for a minor leaguer, and then missing so much time because of the shoulder problems. But what to do with Jurickson Profar at this point?
I don't know if there's a lot you can do with him. We got the opportunity last year when Rougned Odor got suspended right after the whole incident with Jose Bautista, and he was on fire, and he did a great job, and the Rangers moved him around a couple different positions. He tailed off a little bit offensively, but then this year the opportunity to be their everyday left fielder was presented, and he got that opportunity. They couldn't wait much longer, so they had to make a change. And right now the value, if you're thinking trade, probably isn't as high as you would like it to be, and he's also in that really tough spot where consistent at bats may not be there for him either. So I don't know ultimately how this thing finishes out. If you get a team that maybe has a need that has a match for you, if you're talking about potentially making a trade, and they've seen enough in Jurickson Profar between last year and the WBC to make that trade worth it for the Rangers. But I think most likely they probably wait this thing out, keep him around, and kind of use him as a super utility guy when they need him.
Mazara, the RBI single back in the 5th. That put the Rangers on the board for the first time. Now the number of at-bats, that has to be one of the pressing issues for Profar. It's still a very young hitter, not only in terms of age, but simply experience. And how can you find that regular playing time? You do not often see a player with his lack of at-bats being a bench guy.
I mean, he hasn't even gotten to that point where you're sure what kind of big leaguer he could be. That's going to be obstruction on Marte as the errant throw took Marte over the top of Delino DeShields. There was nothing he could do. You see this throw here, but look at Marte fall on top of Delino DeShields, and he can't get up. And that is the right call.
That's an error on Valdez. Runner now in scoring position without a hit for Mazara at the plate, leading the club with 18 RBIs.
Real, to finish it up on Profar, you look at big league players and okay, what is he? You try to get an idea, and you usually got to wait. A lot of guys will tell you 1,000, 1,500 plate appearances before you really have an idea who they are. Well, Jurickson Profar has under 700 plate appearances.
ESPINOSA able to make the catch with Calhoun coming crashing in. One out, one on for Carlos Gomez, having himself a night here. It started in the 1st inning.
Carlos Gomez getting it done. First it was a double as he goes down and hits his ball down the left field line, loses a shoe on the way. That was a jam base hit. Remember this one where Nomar Mazara almost got thrown out. And we talked about this one, how this could end up being a pretty big play in the game. Mike Trout unable to come up with it. Carlos Gomez with the stand-up triple. Now just a home run away from the cycle.
Had one earlier in his career, the 3rd youngest player in big league history to hit for the cycle. But that is a member of the Twins. Now the first pitch, shot, center field. Trout watching the cycle happen. He knows it's his second.
Big smiles all the way around for Carlos Gomez, and he knew it right away. You know how aggressive he is, but he goes up to the plate, always takes a big hack. I don't know if it necessarily this moment he could swing any harder than he usually does anyway, but you get him a pitch that's up, and he drills it to dead center field. Smiles and hugs all around.
Now, has he told everyone in the dugout that that's his second?
I think hey,
everybody knows. Right? Everybody knows at this point.
Hanser Alberto said, I'm sorry, what's that? Oh, you're second. You get the second hug
okay.
then. You get a second hug, second time.
First pitch strike to Odor. Last time Adrian Beltre back in August of 15. If you include the Senators days, it's the 11th, but the 10th in Texas Rangers history. In fact, he's the 3rd player on this current Rangers roster to hit for a cycle. Chu did it back in 15 along with Beltre. And we said this after the triple for Gomez. This is already the 3rd cycle in the big leagues this year, and the first to happen someplace other than Coors Field. Well, Myers of the Padres, and just days ago, Trey Turner. And Turner nearly hit for the cycle the next night, too. He was just a triple shy.
Let's take a look at this. I mentioned the pitch was up. Carlos Gomez head down, big swing, and he knew it right away. He is admiring that fly ball, and off the glove by the fan on the hill. I mean, he wasn't even at first base yet, and he was putting up the 250.
Hey, in case
you guys didn't read the media notes, it's my 2nd cycle.
2-2. And he was so close for the natural cycle, but he went double, single, triple home run. Just got the first 2 out of order. Think he'll be telling people about this for a while?
I think so. Could be some phone calls home tonight.
Of course, the interesting storyline with it all, you look at Trout, who was the one staring at that home run at center field. He was one of the youngest to ever hit for the cycle, and a guy who you figure each and every night has a chance to hit for the cycle.
I wonder if he's thinking, man, if I caught that ball, you wouldn't have your cycle right now.
Strike 3 called. Odor not pleased. 2 outs.
First baseman,
Looks like this little slider cutter here caught the corner. Odor didn't like it. Didn't do a lot.
Napoli on the first pitch. Low stab, shoelaces high by Simmons. That ends the 7th. Gomez the double in the first, a single in the 3rd, RBI triple in the 5th, and here in the 7th to straightaway center field. Gomez hits for the cycle. Hartford. When the unexpected strikes, the Hartford strikes back with small business insurance. Well, the Rangers corner outfielders, Delano DeShields and Nomar Mazara, allowing Gomez to take center field on his own so that he could get a proper ovation from the fans.
That was a nice moment. Chuck Morgan announcing, of course, a cycle and where it was in Rangers history, and Carlos Gomez got a very nice ovation from the Rangers crowd.
Keone Kela, the new pitcher, hard-throwing right-hander for the Rangers.
Keone Kela's got a big arm, and you see what he's done since his recall in the 5 games. Has not allowed a run yet. 5 strikeouts to just those 2 walks, and a live arm. Fastball, it'll be 95 to 98 miles an hour. Pitch up in the zone. He unfortunately did not break camp with the team this year. It was a disciplinary decision by the Rangers, and that's behind everybody now, and they're certainly glad to have him back in their bullpen.
A little loop into center field for a base hit. Calhoun's second hit, reaching for the 3rd time.
That's the first hit that Kela has allowed since that recall. He faced 18 batters. None of them had a base hit. Cole Calhoun gets the first. That's why we talk about, Cole Calhoun and where he fits and trying to be more of an on-base guy. And
right.
Funny how the lineup works. It's the 3rd time he's led off an inning.
Reaching 3 times out of 4 tries. First Angels hit since the 4th inning. Look at what Mike Trout has done. And if you compare him to the greats in the game, he has more hits at this age than Pete Rose had at the same age. Had more steals than Ricky Henderson at this age. More home runs than Babe Ruth at this age. If that does not kind of put it on a platter as to the greatness that we watch each and every night when watching Angels baseball and Mike Trout, I don't know what would.
I think the age matters more too. We have those conversations as opposed to at bats, right? Or these many years into his career, because when you start thinking about those milestone markers and wondering, can Mike Trout get there? Well, the clock tells us, yeah, he's got to have a chance.
And to left field. Trout reaching for the 3rd time, his 2nd hit, as he pushes Calhoun to 2nd.
One more closer to Pete Rose.
Well, how about CJ? We take a look at Grip of the Moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. Back in the 6th.
Well, this was a big moment for you, Darvish. You wondering, is he starting to get tired, and he ends up striking out Albert Pujols and getting through an inning in which he walked the bases loaded. Big smiles and big hugs from his pitching coach, Doug Brocail, but a huge moment for you, Darvish, as he was getting tired. We saw him throw when it was all said and done. 125 pitches. It's a big number in today's game, but you, Darvish, did an outstanding job finishing off that 6th inning. And you say, okay, well, 6th inning, you shouldn't like to see him get deeper, but it was a battle, and I thought he would have been out of this game a lot earlier than he was.
Most pitches thrown by any starter so far from any team this season. First 2 reaching in front of Pujols. Looking at ball 1.
Pitch counts are such a point of pride in Japan. I spent 2 seasons over there. I remember my first spring training. See this headline at the end of spring training. Obviously, I can't read it. It's in Japanese and has all these numbers and 1,400 with one pitcher's name and 1,200. I said, what is this? So this is how many pitches each guy threw in spring training. And the guy who threw the most, and they said always should be like the 1st-round draft pick from the year before. Like that should be the guy that comes in and throws the most pitches in spring training. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? But that was a point of pride. Pitch counts and your ability to go deep and how many you can throw is a big deal in that culture. So 125, it's nothing for you, Darvish.
1-2 on Pujols. Kela bringing the heat at 97. Pujols hitless so far tonight. Does have the sacrifice fly. An 8-game hitting streak on the line tonight. For Trout, he extended his to 13, by the way. Napoli coming down to make the catch.
Well, dicey fly ball with the wind, not nearly as bad as it was earlier, but fortunately, regardless, that's the infield fly roll with runners at first and second, and nobody out. It's a high pop-up for Albert Pujols.
One out, still first and second behind Kella. Trout at first base, Calhoun at second, both reaching on singles. Here is Jeffrey Marte taking over for the injured C.J. Cron, who's on the disabled list because of fouling a ball off the foot last night, right off the top of his foot. Now the Angels' 5-game winning streak, their longest so far in this young season, in jeopardy tonight. It's kind of been an up and down season for the Halos to begin this year. Mike Scioscia's club opening up the year winning 6 of their first 8. Then starting with a loss against these Rangers, dropped 9 of 10. They hit just .200, averaged fewer than 3 runs a game during that span. But now have got it hot. Won 5 of 7. They've won 5 of 5 in a row, rather. They've won 6 of their last 7. And this has been a team that has found a way to rally late in games. 1-2.
That's a good looking fastball from Kella. 97 miles an hour at the knees, but he's also got some really good downward tilt. Watch where kind of his arm starts. Now this comes on that downward angle. Velocity is nice, location is nice, without a doubt, but when you're also coming in on that really tough tilt and that downward angle, it's very hard to square that baseball up.
Gets him swinging. I mentioned what the Angels have done late in games. 4 wins when trailing after 8. The Rangers, meanwhile, the other direction. 5 losses when leading or tied after 7. So this one not over.
They had some issues. A lot of those happened early in the season. First couple of series, they were having some problems in the bullpen and trying to get those things settled, and they feel pretty good about where they are right now. Sam Dyson, who went on the 10-day DL, was activated yesterday. He will no longer be the closer, though. Matt Bush is in that closer role. So Kella is back now. Dyson is back. Bush is now closing. So I think the Rangers are starting to feel a little bit better about their bullpen. Not that there's ever such a thing as enough relief pitching. It does not exist.
And it is the most unpredictable thing, maybe in all of sports, from one year to the next.
No, without a doubt. That's why when you get an Andrew Miller, guys that do it consistently for a couple of years, they start making some big bucks, because you're right. Year to year, a guy can put up a big year and all of a sudden come back and just not be the same.
Slap to right. Mazzara coasting back for a 2-hand catch. Kella strands runners at first and second as we make our way to the bottom of the 8th. 2. Well, for those of you tuning in for the premier boxing champions, we'll get you out there immediately at the conclusion of our game here in Arlington. In the meantime, the broadcast, you can currently find it on FS2 as well as streaming live on Fox Sports Go and also on the foxsportsgo.com. Brooks Pounders, the former Royal from a season ago, up on the mound to work the last of the 8th. Taking over for Jose Valdez. Pours in a strike to Joey Gallo.
If you're going to have the name Brooks Pounders, the body type you got to have right there to go with it, right? It matches. It's a big dude. There's been some turnover in this Angels bullpen. Had some injuries. Cam Bedrosian, of course, is out right now. Houston Street on the DL. Mike Marin is on that DL. A lot going on for the Angels, and so there's been some opportunities that have opened up. Bud Norris has done a nice job. Mike Sosa's been pretty pleased with him in the bullpen. Brooks Pounders now getting an opportunity, but they don't have a closer. They're going to play matchups in the meantime. Mike Sosa figures with what he has, that's the best way to go about it for him.
Moves his feet, 2-2. You think about it, Bedrosian on the shelf, Bailey, J.C. Ramirez now in the rotation because of injuries to the starting 5, so the bullpen looking much different. Big league pop-up. Escobar makes the catch. 1 out as we go back to Los Angeles and check in with Kevin Burkhardt for a game break.
The shortstop, Elvis Andrus.
That seems like a pretty rare thing. That's pretty impressive. One out, nobody on. And strike 1 to Elvis Andrus. And think about it as we talk about the bullpen for the Angels. This is the 2nd straight year where Street and Bedrosian have both been on the disabled list simultaneously.
Yeah, not ideal, right? We talk about depth of bullpen. No such thing as having enough arms down there, and when you're trying to compete and contend, because the Angels have done pretty well here so far. They've been a little bit streaky, but they're getting good starting pitching, especially as of late. So they absolutely believe that they can compete and contend for a division title. As we see Elvis Andrus chasing this Brooks Pounders fastball. It's up out of the zone. He knew it right away. That's the ball. Eyes lit up. That high fastball always looks so good coming into a hitter, but it is so much more difficult to catch up to, except ball gets on you a lot quicker.
2 up, 2 down for Chu. Single and a walk tonight. Now some good news on the injury front for the Angels. This does not concern their bullpen, but it does concern a position of need now with Corona on the disabled list. Luis Valbuena looks like he will be coming back as soon as Tuesday for the Angels on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. Chu settles for a 2-out single.
The catcher, LUCROY.
2 outs, Chu at first base for LUCROY.
It's been a good night for LUCROY. Just the 1 hit, but hit the ball the other way as well. A couple of flyouts to right field. Mentioned the double and a good swing. Tells you maybe that he's got it right where he wants it. Maybe starting to get hot. Certainly Jonathan LUCROY will be ready for that to start happening. It's been good. I think the one thing you notice with guys, whenever you see some guys struggle offensively, maybe not get off the start that they would like to get off of, they don't take what's going on offensively to their defense. And Jonathan LUCROY plays such a critical role here with the Texas Rangers. Does such a nice job behind the plate. Great receiver. We saw it earlier, right? Real quiet back there. He gets a really nice low target. Calls a strong game. He's contributed in a lot of ways.
Fourth ball put in play to right field off the bat of LUCROY, and it's flagged down by Mike Trout. We go to the ninth. Angels trailing 6-2. They'll face Matt Bush. And we take a look at the Hartford prevailing moment of the game. We just saw Carlos Gomez. What a night for Carlos Gomez here this evening.
He did a great job, of course, back in the first inning with the double. Lost a shoe jam single here, which almost wasn't a single. If Andrelton Simmons catches that ball, it's a fielder's choice. Then Mike Trout just misses this one. Turns into a stand-up triple, and then he knew what was up, and he got excited about it, and he let everybody know that he has been there and done that. How many times have you done it? Twice, baby.
There you go. All right, almost forgot. Nice reminder. The 31st player in big league history to hit the cycle twice. There's Matt Bush.
Matt Bush has been exceptional so far this season for the Rangers. Did have a little bit of an issue with an AC joint. Had to get a shot, missed a couple of days, but he has been back after building off that great rookie season a year ago, where he really emerged as one of the go-to arms in Jeff Bannister's bullpen. Unbelievable to think about what this guy has gone through and what he has become as a pitcher here for the Texas Rangers.
Tackled by Gallo from a knee. And no pick by Napoli. Revere on his way to second base.
That was a great stab by Joey Gallo, and he got caught in between whether or not you want to stand up and make the throw, or do you need to get rid of it. And I think with the lefty and the speedster, Revere, he knew he had to get rid of it quickly, but unfortunately on one knee. Short hops that throw to Mike Napoli, and he cannot come up with it.
Infield base hit in the air. Gallo a couple of errors last night. Adrian Beltre, of course, still on the disabled list. In fact, back home in California right now. On the DL all season because of a calf injury. There is Espinosa. Moves it back for ball one. Espinosa with 3 home runs this year, all 3 of those coming in the 9th inning. Soft ground ball. Odor. 1 out. Revere into third. Now, once again, for those of you tuning in for the Premier Boxing Champions, we'll get you out there immediately after the conclusion of our game coming up. In the meantime, the broadcast is currently available on FS2 as well as streaming live on Fox Sports Go and also on foxsportsgo.com. Runner at third, 1 out. And here is Cliff Pennington, pinch hitting switch hitter, batting for Maldonado, the catcher. On the first, a loft out to left. Revere ready to go, and DeShields can't haul it in. Wow.
That's not something that you see every day. Delano DeShields, a very good defender. Wind still blowing here a little bit, not nearly as bad as what we saw earlier in the game. We saw Mike Trout struggling with a fly ball. He eventually caught but carried on him. But Delano DeShields is under this ball and came forward as he tried to catch it. I'm not sure. I guess this ball just died on him a little bit more. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong there. He didn't lollygag it or showboat it or anything. I mean, he was under it and came behind the ball just like you're supposed to. Unless he started thinking about maybe trying to make a throw there, but he wasn't going to have a play on Ben Revere. There's no chance.
No way. To the top with Escobar.
Surprised that Pennington's only at first base there. There was enough time potentially. I don't know. I mean, you hit a fly ball like that, you assume it's an out. I didn't get a look at him coming out of the box as he takes off with a monster jump.
He's in at second.
Called even, I guess.
That's getting a little more interesting now. Tying run on deck for the Angels.
Well, they certainly can get very interesting when you think about potentially what's happening at 2, 3, 4. Cole Calhoun has had a nice night with a couple of base hits and a walk, and then of course sitting behind him in the hole right now hoping to get another chance is Mike Trout.
Entering today, a squibber, and it's off of Napoli's glove. Recovers. Bush at first. Pennington into third base, 2 outs. And Napoli a little shaken up, it looks like.
It's a nice job by Mike Napoli to smother this ball and ultimately stay with it. And they're going to take a little time to give him a breather. But you see him going to his left, but maybe landing on that left wrist, I'm guessing. Excuse me, right wrist. Maybe what bugged him a little bit. Good job by Matt Bush to make sure that he's over there. Napoli seems to be fine. That's a huge play, right? At least gives you the opportunity to have a chance to finish this game without bringing Mike Trout the potential tying run to the plate.
Well, entering today, no team had scored more runs in the 9th inning or later than the Angels, tied with the Indians. Pennington at third with 2 outs. Going after the first pitch at strike 1. Calhoun's had a nice night, a couple of base hits, a walk.
Nobody wants Cole Calhoun to make an out here more than Delano DeShields right now.
Now the Angels lead all of baseball, and 9th inning come from behind wins. Darvish 10 strikeouts over 6 innings, under 25 pitches. Then it was up to the bullpen. The 1-1 makes it 1-2. That comes steaming in at 98.
Calhoun didn't like it. It was borderline. It was close. at the knees, but a good-looking pitch from Matt Bush. Take a quick look at this replay. Watch the glove from Jonathan LUCROY. And you see that subtle movement, catch it from the bottom, bring it up. Great job receiving by LUCROY.
Bush a strike away from capping a Rangers win tonight. Now the 1-2. Strike 3 called. Rangers win. Calhoun is very upset. CJ, this game just had about everything, didn't it?
It was an outstanding game, as you see the frustration from Cole Calhoun, and that's because the pitch before was borderline. That one was borderline, but give Adam Hamari some credit for being consistent in making those calls. But a good game here for the Texas Rangers, certainly for Carlos Gomez hitting for the cycles. We see Matt Bush one more time here on this fastball. It was down. You see LUCROY with just a little bit of movement. The frustration there, again, knowing that Mike Trout was sitting on deck, but nevertheless, Matt Bush finishes it off for the Texas Rangers, who have now split this series so far through 2 with the Angels. Gomez, his second cycle, the 10th in franchise history. The Angels see their 5-game winning streak snap as the Rangers inch closer to 500. Now for CJ Nikowski, our entire FS1 crew, I'm Aaron Goldsmith. Now we send you out to Ray Flores in Las Vegas for Premier Boxing Champions.